People say I ain't no good, and I'm crazy as a loon. Cause I shave my head in the morning, pick guitar in the afternoon. Just like old Chief and Charlie, I like to lay around in the shade. Well, I ain't got no money, but you better believe I got it made. Cause I ain't asking nobody for nothing if I can't get it on my own. If you don't like the way I'm living, just leave this bald-headed country boy alone.
Like, you think, no, you know what I really want? I'm going to eat eggs with this is what I'm going to eat when I get home. I'm going to eat one real egg, 6 ounces of egg whites because you can eat more food volume for less calories. And then I'm going to put vegan cheese on it. Don't judge me.
What is vegan cheese?
It's vegan cheese. I don't know what it's made of. I don't really care, but I can have it because it's less calories than regular cheese.
Or something.
And it still makes cheesy eggs, and they taste fine because it's mixed in the eggs. And then I'm going to put ground turkey in it.
Well, this wasn't how I was planning on starting the show, but now I got to know about vegan cheese. Like, why can't you just have regular cheese?
Well, I don't eat dairy. I don't eat dairy or gluten at all, ever, in anything.
No shit. Why?
Well, gluten makes me look like I'm 9 months pregnant, and dairy makes my face break out, so I just stopped eating both of it.
I wonder if that's my problem. Maybe I'm allergic to gluten.
Which I will tell you, when I cut it out completely, I lost like 8 pounds in a week when I cut it out completely all the way.
I don't even know what the fuck gluten is. I know that was fucking horrible.
It's the way that wheat is processed. So there's bread, tortillas, oats. Sometimes there's gluten-free oats. It's the way things are processed. So I don't know. Everything has gluten in it.
For everybody who doesn't know, this is Ireland, Mandy
Hello?
and Court, by the way, Court Taylor. Yeah, our boxer over here is telling us all about her diet. This sounds fucking horrible.
Yeah, just wait till I get to the point where I'm putting mustard on egg whites just to feel something.
That's sad, dude. We talk about a lot of depressing shit on this show. That's the most depressing thing I've heard.
It's sad. Well, because there's 0 calories in mustard. And honestly, at some point, you get so sick of egg whites that you just want to feel some kind of something. So mustard it is.
So I did, for like a month, I did Whole30 a while back. And it's like you can't eat anything either. So I put mustard on everything.
Whole30 is literally just vegetables, fruit, and meat. It's just whole foods.
It was
That's
awful.
so easy.
No, it was awful. Because I don't like anything. I'm picky too.
Steak, mashed potatoes. That's Whole30.
What the fuck is Whole30?
No, because
You
back
only eat whole foods for 30 days. So you only eat vegetables, fruits, and meat for 30 days. Like no processed foods. Just whole foods.
back when I did it though, you
Have
couldn't
y'all ate like pork chops and
You can have
and
that.
gravy and
You can have gravy.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I can't
I
live
mean-
in a world.
No, back when I
Yeah.
did it, you couldn't have cheese, potatoes, or rice. You couldn't have stuff like that.
Yeah,
You can
because
walk past it,
technically
it's fine.
cheese is processed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
have cheese, but you can have like potatoes. That's a starch, but it's a vegetable. It grows in the
Yeah.
ground.
You know what? We were supposed to start off by talking about mental health.
We can
That's
get
what
there.
you reached out for. And now mine's even worse because I'm thinking about your diet.
Yeah, my mental health tanks during this.
It should. It sounds fucking
It's
horrible.
the way that I have to prepare my friends and family for cuts. I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm going to be miserable. I'm going to hate my life. And you're going to hate your life because there's nothing you can do about the way that I feel because I can't change it.
Yeah.
I can't cheat on it. It sucks, and you just have to let
You
it suck.
looked like you were close to death the last time we hung
I
out.
felt like I was close to death.
It was
the last
bad,
time.
dude.
It was bad.
I
was not
and I
doing
wasn't
well.
trying to be weird earlier. When you walked in, I saw your legs. I was like, I don't know if she's still doing it or not. Like, I was like, something's
Like she's
changed.
gained some weight.
But not
Yeah.
like bad. I don't mean
No, I
like
just
you
am
gained
not,
some like
you know,
shitty weight.
It's not, I'm not
Yeah.
eating
You
carrots
look probably more
for
like the
dinner.
first time I met you now. Or probably close
Yeah.
to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like every time I see you, I'm getting ready for another fight.
Yeah.
I'm usually like 6 or 8 weeks out from something.
Yeah, it's been, when did me, you, and Caroline do that show?
No, the first time we met was on Matt's podcast.
Yeah.
At Live
At Live Oak.
Yep.
But when was the last time that me and you and her did the show?
It was cold outside.
Was it still cold? Mm-hmm. I don't remember. Yeah, I guess it had to be the beginning of this year because it was right before your last fight, right?
Yeah, and that was the end of January. So it was the
Okay.
beginning of
Oh,
January.
I guess
probably.
it was. I was thinking I
Yeah.
met you last year. I guess it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, because I think this is what, third or fourth show I've done with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're one of my favorites. All of y'all are, though. I know it's kind of focused on your punk ass right now.
I try,
Try not to make everything about you. At least you're not like Caroline, because Caroline, I love her to death, but boy, she's going to overtalk all of us.
Caroline's the only other person I've ever met who can talk more than me.
Holy shit.
I love her, but I've never met a human that can talk more than I can.
I've not told her this, but I thought I was going to hate her.
She's going to know now.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's why I'm saying it. I thought I was going to hate her because, like, I saw some of her videos and stuff, and then I asked her to do the show, just me and her. And, like, some of the stuff she would ask people in public, I was like, it takes some balls to ask that
When
shit and
you
everything.
told me that she was going to be on the
Yeah.
show with me, I was like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I'm not going to answer a question if she asks me.
Yeah.
I was scared.
But as soon as I got to talking to her and getting to her, she is one of my favorite people now.
I
Is
love her.
she the
She's
one I
a-
met
she's
last
great.
She
time?
does Broadway Girls.
Yeah.
Or Broadway Girls? Is that what it's called?
That's what it's called.
See, I don't.
What
I
the
don't
hell's
listen to
Broadway Girl?
She
podcasts
she
or pop
works
culture.
at
Barstool.
Barstool.
Oh, okay.
She's like one of their whatever Barstool baddies, or whatever the fuck they're called.
Oh, yeah.
And anyway, she does this thing. She does a podcast and stuff too. But she'll go out. All the content that she posts on social media is her going up to random people on Broadway and recording their
Yes.
response.
Okay. I know
She'd be
that.
asking some shit,
Some
wild
wild
shit,
questions.
and it's like if this bitch would have walked up to me and that's how I would have met her, man, I'd have said some shit and I'd have gotten so much trouble.
Yeah.
Man, there's guys and women on there that's got to be like, man, I wish that bitch wouldn't post that. But it's funny to me if you say
It's
it.
funny to me. I like to watch it, but I'm so glad she doesn't ask me those questions.
Yeah.
I'd cry.
I'd like to see y'all fight, like a real boxing match. That's a big bitch. He's an Amazon.
My
Listen,
God.
there is a reason that I cut weight and
Yeah.
cut down into littler weight classes. It's because I don't want to fight a girl my size. I don't want to
blame
fight
you.
a girl who's my height.
I don't want to fight a girl your size. I don't want to fight a woman, period. I don't know. We talked about it earlier. There's reasons why sometimes, I guess.
Yeah.
That's a bad domestic violence joke, by the way. Told you to do them dishes. If you'd just done the dishes, everything been okay.
I always tell people, like, I probably look like I'm just in a domestic violence relationship all year round. Like,
you
people,
do.
People probably just think, like, I'm in a really rough spot in life.
Oh, no doubt. If they don't know you and the last time that I was
No.
around you, when you had the black eye and you were skinny, oh, yeah, they definitely thought you had a shitty home
when
life.
I had that black eye, so I had a black eye, a cut cheek, and a busted nose,
Yeah.
all in the same week, and they all turned like that really ugly purple yellow color at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in Kroger, and this older woman came up to me, and she was like, got real close to me, like in my personal space. She goes, "Hey, if you need some help, like our church has a program and we can get you out. Like nobody will know." And I was like, "What are you talking about?"
I remember you told
And I
me
had,
that
like-
last time, and I
and
was like, it makes sense.
And I forgot I had the black eye because it just is what it is. And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She was like, your face. Like if you need help. And I was like, no. Like I asked for this. And she was like, And I was like, no, not like that. Like I was like, I fight competitively. Like it's okay. She goes, "It's okay. You can be honest with me." And I was like, I appreciate you, but
They're probably just thinking you're that woman that's just like, I ran into a doorknob.
yeah,
Yeah, like, it's
That's
like,
she probably
yeah,
was just
this,
like-
this is a bullshit story.
Yeah.
This bitch isn't a fighter.
yeah.
Just Google
Yeah.
me.
This is
Just
really
Google it.
bad at
Just-
chores.
Yeah, I'll just, yeah, right. Yeah, I am. I hate doing chores.
Oh my God.
I'm not the one to be doing chores.
Look, I grew up in the shit. I can laugh about it. I ain't never done it, and I'll never do it, but I can laugh about it. Reason why it's kind of worked out today is Ireland hit me up yesterday. I already wanted Mandy was coming to stay with us all week. I wanted to have her on the show to promote some of her stuff, but she hit me up yesterday and was like, "Hey, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. We got
Men's mental health
mental health
awareness
awareness
month.
month or whatever."
Okay.
And she's like, "I think we ought to do a show on it." And I was like, I was already going to try to do that anyway. So I was like, this works out perfect. And then Court has to deal with a lot of my bullshit.
Who's
from
also one
day
of my
in and day
favorite
out.
people that exists in
She's
Nashville.
so badass,
She
dude.
is.
Which I met her
Badass.
through you on our show.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun.
She's so much fun. What are you doing tomorrow? Probably not eating, working out, getting beat.
What's tomorrow, Wednesday? I got
Yeah.
to work out at 6, and then I work a little bit.
Okay, well, our show tomorrow at Live Oak, if you want to come just hang out.
Cool.
You ain't got-
I play at 8.
Yeah.
That's the most important part.
I was gonna say
It really
sometimes
is.
I
Gotta
look
keep
at
you awake.
sometimes I look at lineups and I'm like, I'm not going to that. But if you're on it, I'm like, I can move some things.
Yeah.
Well,
But
first
sometimes
off,
I'm
the
like-
whole lineup is good, start to finish tomorrow. It's
Sometimes
really good.
people are like, this is a great lineup. And I get there and I'm like, y'all can't write songs.
But did you not just hear her say that I'm her favorite person?
Yeah.
So
she really is.
I play 8.
Well, you do sing nothing but about murder songs
I'm not-
and domestic violence and everything else.
I'm only singing one about murder tomorrow. I was gonna do 2.
You should do 2.
But
Yeah.
I can't play that one. Ryan Nelson, if you're listening and you want to play the guitar for me tomorrow.
You wrote one with Ryan?
Yeah,
I
I've
love
written
Ryan
2
Nelson.
songs with Ryan.
Somehow we ended up talking about him forever last night. And I don't remember who I was even having a conversation with. Party Marty. Because I was
Who?
told Party Marty Evans.
that
Okay,
is?
I don't know him well, but he's one of these people that are so lovable. Like he plays golf with John Daly, like all this kind of. He's
Party Marty.
his name's
If
Party
my
Marty.
name was Marty, I would be Party Marty. Too.
Yeah, it's a great fucking name,
Shoot,
right?
you
Well,
can't rhyme anything with Ireland.
When I first started coming up here, like consistently, like 2 or 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I had a group of friends that I knew from back in Georgia that were living here now, songwriters and everything, and they were like, "Okay, these are the people you need to hang out with. These are the people you don't, and then there's going to be some ones you really, really want to hang out with, but please don't because you're going to have a bad time."
Please don't.
And it was Party Marty, Ryan Nelson, and Mark Oriot, and now Mark Oriot is one of my best friends in the world, and Ryan Nelson, I love him to death.
I need to show you the first song that. So Ryan, Levi Foster, and I wrote a song, because Ryan's the mayor of Nashville.
Oh, absolutely.
And so he comes in the room and he's like, "Man, I've been wanting to write this song because my friend said, because Ryan looked at his friend and said, 'Man, I'm a nightmare,' and his friend goes, 'No, you're the night mayor.'"
The Nightmare.
And so we wrote a song called "The Night Mayor," and it is one of the funniest songs
Oh, I can
think
just
I've
see
ever
him
been
like
part
loving
of.
that shit too.
Yeah.
Put it out immediately. The Nightmare? Are you kidding me?
This sounds
Put
good
it out.
already.
I could never sing it, but it's definitely a Ryan song.
He's just so fucking cool to me. I don't know why I like him so much.
I don't even know who it is, but
You
it
don't know
sounds,
Ron Nelson?
No, but the sounds.
You'd
fun.
hate him.
Perfect.
No,
You know what? A
he's
lot
one-
of a lot of people tell me I'll hate someone, but
Yeah.
that I end up liking them. But everybody that somebody's like, you're gonna love them, I'm like, probably not.
really.
Ryan
Probably not.
is the Florida
Yeah,
man.
yeah. There's no in
Let me
between.
look him up.
There's
You
no
got an
in
Instagram?
between. He's one of those folks. He's like me to where you either really, really love him, and you got like you treat them like family, or you don't want to talk to them at all. Like there's no in between with him.
I was gonna say, is it this man? But it's literally says Florida man in his bio.
It's
It
just
is bio.
100% Ryan fucking Nelson. He'll sing a song. He's got a song that's called "I'll Probably Show Up Drunk," and it's a funny, but it's a really good, catchy song. But then he's got like songs like the truck. It's called "It Ain't the Truck," I think, but it ain't the truck that drove her away. He's talking about himself, and it's a sweet, love, sad song. Man, it's so fucking good. And he's got one that's "The Way Back." I think that's what it is. Oh
I
my
don't know
god.
who this is.
Yeah, I don't know how you don't know him. Like he's got a Riley Green #1. He's good, dude.
Yeah.
But fuck Ryan Nelson. We're talking about mental health.
Well, those go hand in hand, don't
That's
they?
what that probably does go hand in hand. But no, when you reached out to me yesterday and you brought it up, like I've been going through it lately, dealing with my own shit and everything.
We've
and
all been seeing it. We know.
Oh, I know. I made like y'all don't understand. It's just weird how it's going to come out because I even had to have a conversation with somebody earlier today about it that's kind of involved in the situation. But it's like it's not a pity party. It's I don't want to suffer in silence.
Yeah.
Like I don't like keeping shit tucked down anymore, and I overexpress way too often. But to me though, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
100%.
It's either, damn, am I going to tell somebody I missed them today, or am I going to sit here and drive myself crazy and them not know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's
'cause-
kind of like that thing where it's like, this is going to get really interesting real quick, but it's kind of like when you go to a funeral for somebody who's committed suicide,
Yeah.
and everybody's like, I had no idea. They never said anything.
Yeah.
But then as soon as you start posting stuff, people are like, they're being dramatic.
Yeah. Well,
Well, no, I don't think that's been the deal with you though, Josh.
I don't
know.
know.
for
oh no,
me-
I'm
I don't
definitely
know
being
I
dramatic.
know,
No,
but-
I'm
but I
definitely
think
being
just-
dramatic. though.
Well, but I think in
know
general-
that. I know
Yeah.
that you've been, and I'm saying I agree with that. But I know for everybody sitting at this table who knows you, and we've got like committed friendships with you, then at least we know
Yeah.
to like reach out to you
Yeah.
and
Oh,
to
yeah,
be
y'all-
in
yeah.
contact
Yeah,
with
100%.
you. And where before we're just going on with our life,
Yeah.
we see each other a few times a year, and that's you know
And
what
if
I
you
mean.
didn't post, we really wouldn't
we
have
wouldn't
any idea.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've felt so led in the past couple years with mental health to where, man, it might piss the person off that I'm trying to make not mad at me. But there's somebody out there that just feels like they can't express themselves. Like, I wanted to make the comment to somebody earlier today, and it would have came off so wrong if you had no explanation to it. But I'm starting to see why, whether it's men or women, when you express yourself, why so many people decide not to and fucking tuck it down because you don't get the result you want from it. Like, you think that you're doing good, and you're not. You're not helping the fucking situation whatsoever, but you don't know how to express yourself. And when somebody does it one time to where you get a negative feedback on it, it's like, well, damn, I just need to keep all my feelings and everything tucked down forever and not ever share again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to find people that are also like emotionally intelligent because they'll be able to accept that.
Yeah.
But I feel like, unfortunately, most people are not emotionally intelligent people.
Yeah.
So, because I kind of had that growing up too, because I'm on the opposite side of you. Like, I don't, if I'm going through it, I'm not talking about it. I might give like little pieces here and there, but you're not going to know the brunt of it or exactly like how bad it is. Because, like, I mean, with my stuff I was going through at the beginning of the year, too, everyone was like, you're actually handling this, like, really well. And I was like, that's what you see.
I think it's worse to act that way. I really do. I think that it is so much worse in the long run to tuck shit down because then it becomes a problem later.
No, totally. I will have full breakdowns because I'll go 6 months, a year, sometimes several years without talking about things and going through it. But it's like the same thing. Like when you run into these like emotionally unintelligent people who make you feel bad for expressing yourself, you learn to internalize it, and until it becomes an issue like that. Because I mean, kind of in my family, all of us are getting a lot better about it now. But in my family, we were taught like that's weakness.
Yeah.
So you still get up every day and you still go do what you have to do, and you're happy about it.
Yeah. So that's what. There's been several people that have tried to just be like, "Hey, dude, you got this, this, and this going for you. Don't fucking whatever." Right? But see, like I don't know the fucking word to use for it. I'm a very passionate person. If I love you, I don't love nobody else. Like I don't express myself well sometimes, and it usually takes alcohol to make me talk about shit, and that is so bad, and I'm trying to be better about that now. But I don't love anything casually. So I feel like when something happens and it's bad, whatever it is, relationship, a death, or whatever, I feel like if I don't act passionate about it not being there anymore, that the person or whatever doesn't realize how passionate I was, like how much I cared. Like to me, it's where people are gonna be like, when they see the shit that I post, they're like, man, he just wants attention. Like he just wants some other people to follow him or something on social media or whatever. And it's not that. It's I don't care if I get 100,000 likes on something. Doesn't matter if I didn't get the one like I was hunting for. If that makes sense. Like I want somebody to know, like, yeah, I live a public life. Like I've chose this is my career. I don't have an option anymore going back. I don't want to do normal shit no more.
Well, and honestly, after you choose the spotlight, it's kind of like what I've just been through. And I'm not going to go into the details of that, but you internalize situations for only so long. And then you're like, I've got to express myself. And I know I talked to you before I did that. And I was like, you know what? This is bullshit. Yeah. Like, I've got to say something. I'm not going to make it out to be something it's not. But I'm at least going to make some type of statement here because all this other shit it's not going my way, you know? So I think that at least being able to express yourself and telling people exactly how you are feeling so they don't think that you're just some cold-natured asshole either. You know what I mean?
Well, I am about 99% of the things in my life, though. I really am. If I don't love something, like I said, I don't casually like people either. Like if I love
it's like
you,
an extreme. It's like an extreme either way. Yeah. Like it is or it isn't at all.
Exactly. And so, but I think there's so many people that are turned off and they just don't get it because they're like, he is overreacting. Somebody told me the other day, boy, and I about came through the goddamn phone on somebody. I'm telling you, I ain't never been so mad, and this is going to sound stupid in hindsight now, but it's like, they said, I don't know why you're upset. It's just another girl. And I was like, it pissed me off so
I'd have hung
bad.
up.
It pissed me off so bad because it's like, you don't understand. Yeah, do you, or it's like with any of y'all. Like if our friendship ended, it would hurt like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
It would hurt like hell. I don't view you as just another person. If you're in my life, you are a fucking family fucking person to me, right?
Yeah.
I don't have any other option the way I view stuff. And it was like, I know everybody thinks I'm crazy, but in my mind, it's like I'm showing somebody that I care, even if they don't give a shit no more. Like, I'm still trying to act like, damn, maybe the shit I didn't do that I should have been doing before, I want to do it now. I was just too stupid to realize I should have been doing it then.
Yeah.
But you're damned if you do.
Yeah.
It sucks. It sucks because nobody ever, unless you sit down and you have a conversation with somebody face to face, no matter what it is, and they can look you in the eyes, you can't bullshit somebody's eyes.
Yeah.
You can, the facial expressions, whatever, you can tell. It's like that person's either hurting or they're bullshitting me. And just people don't take the time to have those conversations no more because they're fucking painful. And I do my best no matter what it is. Probably going to come off a little crazy sometimes, but at least you know exactly how I feel and how I stand. I wish more people would do. I wish more people, especially men, because we suck. We suck at expressing ourselves. We don't know how to fucking do it the right way. At least I don't. Like, I wish more people would be open to talking about it. And I feel like that's kind of my cross to bear with everything I've picked to do in my life is, hey, let's take the taboo out of some of this shit. Your heart broke today, dude. You going to drink yourself to death? No, let's not do that. Express yourself. And that's the way it comes off to me. But everybody else is like, this motherfucker's crazy. I get it.
No, I don't think so. Because I mean, I look back at like every relationship I've ever had, and the downfall was communication and like them being upset and feeling like they, or maybe not even feeling like they can't express themselves, but like not even knowing how because that's not something that men are used to doing.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, you talked about it last night, but so I'm an extremist, like I was just saying. It's either all the way in or nothing for me. And like the last week, I did a psilocybin trip because I've read so much about it, and I just thought that like, hey, this is it. Like this is why you hear Joe Rogan and everybody else talking about this, like killing your ego and finding out like what it is. Never done anything like it before, and it was the most liberating experience of my life. But also too, like, it's not a quick fix. It shows you what you need to work on, but it's not like it's going to fix your problems. I've been looking for quick fixes, and I think that's what most of us guys do is like, we'll take a woman home tonight. That'll make me feel better tonight. It's a quick fix. Feel like shit tomorrow. I'm gonna
Then at 8:30 tomorrow morning,
Right.
you're back
You're miserable
on it.
again. You're fucking miserable.
Well, I was just telling a friend about kind of that same thing about that instant gratification, that instant fix thing. And I don't know if this is prevalent in like, it probably is, so it's fine. But like in the music industry and like in the entertainment industry, you get such, and like you probably get this from being on stage, I'd assume. Like you get such a high, like an adrenaline high, some kind of rush that happens, right? Same with like adrenaline junkies who like do dumb stuff. Like I jumped out of a plane and I was like, I could do that every day for the rest of my life. That was so fun. Fighting in front of thousands of people, so fun.
Yeah.
Like the arenas, so fun. And then you get like you've got this big podcast, like all these different things. You get these incredible highs, right? And the same thing happens when you're in a relationship. You get these incredible highs because you love that person that much. And then when that's not there anymore, you're going to spend the rest of forever chasing whatever high you can get. And because we're an instant gratification generation and we live in this instant world, if you want something tomorrow, you can have it from Amazon. You can have it delivered same day at 2 p.m. Same as like, I just learned the human race has just surpassed like the goldfish standard. So our attention span is less than a goldfish right now because we have constant anything we want all the time, 24/7, whatever. Information, food, stuff, anything. So you reach this high in this like, whatever it is with a relationship, a job, whatever it is, and then you don't have that anymore. It tanks. that's when like the stupid one night stand
You
hookups
lose
happen.
your shit and you look
Yeah.
for quick fixes.
And then people start with the quick fixes, which is like, I mean, you can go from just a one night stand to like starting a little tiny pill problem, which turns into a big pill problem because it's
Wow,
a
yeah, let's
quick
go.
little. I'm just saying.
No, you're right. You're
I'm
right.
just saying that's what
you
happens.
are fucking right.
That's anybody who's like, I need something right now. People who start with like, I need Coke right now.
Yeah.
That's a quick fix. Well, now all of a sudden, you're 10 years down the road and you're spending $1,600 a week on Coke,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh man, what are we doing?
Dude,
And it's because people don't process what's going on or like talk about it or.
some of us
I
don't
mean-
know how. Like,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like, if you've ever been rejected by, like, if I was expressing myself to you right now,
Mm-hmm.
and you rejected what I was talking about, like you just completely blew it the fuck off.
Yeah.
It's gonna make me where I'm never gonna want to do that again.
Yeah.
And it's gonna make me to where it's like, you know what? Those quick fixes, that makes more sense.
Well, 'cause they're
That
not gonna
hurts
reject
less.
you.
Yeah.
Those quick fixes
Yep.
aren't going to reject you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that girl might leave at 8:30 tomorrow, but you're not going to talk to her again. So, like, it's
no.
not like she's going to be like, you were this and you were that. And
Yeah.
like, she's just going to leave. She's going to get an Uber and she's going to go home. Coke's not going to reject you. Like, it's just, that's just how it works.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm learning that. I'm telling you, like, I had to go last week. I made the decision to go to a mental health counselor. It's not a therapist, technically. It's a mental health counselor or whatever the fuck they're called. And it's like, I've never wanted to open up before. Like, I didn't. But doing the psilocybin trip showed me some shit that I needed to work on so much.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't do this by myself. But I also can't keep attaching myself to something that I'm expecting happiness from. Or I'm expecting, like, I know now I cannot attach myself to a woman for a long time until I get this shit right with myself. Because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just going to be a problem. I told you last night, like, I literally for the past 8 months have been fucking smitten. And I didn't realize until I did that psilocybin trip the other night that her happiness was my happiness. And the second that happiness got cut off, I went into a fucking just nosedive.
Yeah.
And I literally put all my happiness, all my eggs in one basket. And it's like, why did I do that? Not that you shouldn't try to make the person happy and be happy that they're
Right.
happy, but it's like, why wasn't I working on myself and trying to make myself happy to improve that happiness?
right.
Yeah.
Well, it's like,
And I know one thing just to add to that, and it just came to mind, but I lost my dad like 2 years ago. But since I was a little girl, and I'm telling you, Josh, this like embeds in my head out of everything. He always said happiness is not something you find in anything or anyone. It's something you create. Everybody wonders why I'm so fucking ambitious, why I'm hitting every goal all the time. It's not because I'm just laid out and it's just happening for me. It's because I get up and grind
Yeah.
like a motherfucker because I'm creating my own happiness.
Yeah.
I learned, I've been divorced almost 8 years now from a man that I thought I would spend the rest of my life with. But it's back to I'm creating my own. I'm not going to find that in anybody else. So,
The whole conversation that you, Riley, and I had a couple of weeks ago was.
Thank y'all so much.
Just-
I was a fucking wreck.
I mean, I've been there. You just hadn't seen it yet, but I mean, the whole thing Riley was saying is you can't be okay with anybody or anything
Yeah.
until you're okay with yourself. And then I also had this, and I ask myself this all the time because whenever I was I think I was in high school, and I was going to church all the time. I like spent every day at church, and I had this youth pastor who was basically trying to get us to understand the difference between like idols and God and things like that. And he said, if you had everything taken away from you, everything, your family, your significant others, your house, everything taken away from you, would that be enough? Would you still be enough? Would God be enough? Are you happy with yourself without all of these
Yeah.
things? Because if you're not, then you're giving that person or you're giving that object power over you.
yeah.
It's funny you say that. You know what jailhouse religion is? You know what that is? All right. There's a lot of people that when you get locked up, all of a sudden you become a Christian or whatever your faith
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You find
for
you
sure.
find religion because there's nothing else.
And there's nothing else.
Yeah.
You have no. You want to attach everything to that because you're like, oh, it'll be better when I get out. I'm a Christian now and all this kind of stuff. I'm a Christian. I'm not an example that are by no means, but like that's kind of what a lot of us do, and we just don't realize we're doing it. Like, of course, you need God in your life, but some of us mask our problems with it. Some of us want to sit here and put you're posting shit or you're reading shit and you're expressing yourself in a way with the church and God and everything that's, to me, is unhealthy. I think I was doing it recently to where like I was posting stuff because I wanted God to mask my pain, mask it, not heal it. Like you have to heal yourself. Like you're supposed to take stuff that He tells us and it's supposed to heal you. It's not supposed to be something that you put a mask on.
It's
and
not
then
like
all
a
of sudden-
Band-Aid
Yeah,
situation
it's not.
where it just covers it up. Like I grew up in the church and I love the Lord. And
I
I
do
grew up
too.
in a great Christian home but we grew up in a church that was one of those churches that like depression didn't exist, anxiety didn't exist. If that was the situation, boy, you better just button it up and keep on moving. You
Yeah.
just put your little dollar in the tithe basket and get in, get out. And that was just the church I grew up in. And so when I was in high school and I was going through a little mentee B situation, okay, and I was having some issues, I was like, who am I going to tell? Because my parents go to this church too.
Yeah.
And this is what they're like, we're all learning the same thing. What am I going to, my family's going to lock me up. They're going to send me to an institution. Because I knew how people talked about people who like had depression or anxiety or were like a little crazier than others or who had some kind of real mental health issue.
Yeah.
I knew how they talked about them, and I was not about to be the next person that y'all talked about at dinner. I was not about to be. So I was like, well, I'll just keep it in my little head and I'll just not talk about it. Yeah. And I won't. If I keep it buttoned up, it'll go away because that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
Just pray it away. That's whatever. And then in 2020, when I got canceled, and I didn't leave my house for 9 months because I was
Forgot
terrified.
You got canceled.
I know
Sorry, it's not funny.
it's so funny now. It's so funny now when I look, like my memories will pop up and I'm like, man, a missed opportunity. Like then it was not funny.
Oh,
It was
that shit's coming real soon for me.
Yeah. It was not funny at the time. It was like super scary, but and I didn't leave the house for the longest time, but I remember in the middle of it, I like went to my mom. I lived with my family. And it was the middle of COVID, so we had nothing better to do. So I was renovating my bedroom. Yeah. And so I bought white paint and I put silver glitter in it and I was painting the wall with glitter paint. And I was like, this is a great idea. I love this. In the middle of it, I just started crying because I hadn't left the house in months. And I was just like, TMZ was up my ass about stuff. And like Dr. Phil was leaving me voicemails and I was like, oh my gosh, my life is literally crumbling. My boss fired me because my political views didn't line up with hers. And it was this whole big thing. And I was like, my whole life is tanking. I was crying, painting my room. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to sell everything I own and I'm going to move to Sikeston, Missouri. And I'm going to be a cattle farmer. I'm just going to give it all up. I would give everything I've ever done here up. I've lived in Nashville my entire life. I was born downtown. I'm going to give it all up, move to Missouri, be a cattle farmer, and I don't have to deal with it. You be a cattle farmer, you don't have to deal with anybody. I just live there.
Yeah.
And when I walked downstairs and I told my mom, and she was like, have you thought about maybe like going to therapy or like talking to somebody? And I was like, I can do that. She was like, yeah, why wouldn't you? And I was like, I just thought we weren't allowed to do that. Like, that's what they're saying at church. Like, they're just praying it away and it's not going away. Like, this is not going away.
I've said it for 4 years now that I didn't like therapists. I like support systems until I sat down with a mental health specialist the other day. And now all of a sudden it's like, okay, maybe
the person who has the
I do
degree
need to
in
be called
this,
out on
yeah.
some bullshit. Like there is some stuff that I'm just avoiding the fuck out of.
Yeah.
It's not even that though. It's not necessarily about like being called out for things. Like they do help you become more self-aware, but the most important part is learning those healthy coping mechanisms for when shit does hit the fan, because it's inevitable. You're always going to go through hardships. It's just like, how do you handle those?
That's the first thing that we got to talking about, because she was like, so why are you deciding to come here now? And I was telling her like all shit I was going through, and I was like, I literally over the weekend knew I should not have called somebody. Knew I should not have texted somebody. But when I got drunk, I probably called 30 times Saturday night and fucking 50 text messages. And then on Friday was probably close to the same thing. And it was where I could not stop myself between the alcohol and just my feelings. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know what the fuck I thought was on the other side of that phone call or what good was going to come out of that.
Yeah.
And then first thing me and her talk about, she was like, are you ADHD? And I was like, yeah, I've been it my whole life. I just started taking Adderall like 2 years ago or like a year ago, whatever. And she was like, you know that impulse control is like one of the same things you have with, or impulse, like when you have problems with impulse control is the same thing. Like it runs hand in hand.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that why like I jumped the gun on every fucking thing and then I regret it as soon as I come to my senses?
It's also the extreme. So
Yeah.
like the extreme, like all in or all out, black or white. Like I have ADHD. It is all in or all out. I'm
Yeah.
not half-assing anything.
can't.
There's no gray area. It's either it is or it's not. And
That-
that's just, and people will tell you, and I'm sure they've told you, like, you're really blunt or you're really aggressive or
Yeah.
you just get straight to the point. And it's like, yeah, because my brain can't do the
can't.
well, maybe no, this is either what it is or it's not. And that's also really hard when there's some kind of mental health issue or discrepancy or
Yeah.
like you're trying to deal with stuff because you're like, I know the facts and this is what they are.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to get from point A to point B because in my head, there's only one logistical way to get there. And then you've got
The fucking crazy train, baby.
Yeah.
It's that straight express.
it's because it's just that is the quickest way to get. You're like, I need to
Jesus
get there,
Christ.
and I need to get there right now. And the fastest way to get there is crazy train.
Crazy train.
Just right down the middle. And sometimes, as someone who's now gone to therapy and like been able to cope and learn different ways to be like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Like getting to that point is a really nice place to be. To be like,
Yep.
okay, for instance, a man cheated on me. So I called a friend of mine and I said, I'm going to drive to his house. It was 1:30 in the morning. I said, I'm going to drive to his house. And he goes, maybe not. And I was like, I'm going to. And he goes, maybe not. And I said, I'm going to shoot his gas tank. And he goes, maybe not. I
God
said,
damn.
I
Are
said,
we
yeah,
related?
I am. I said, yeah, I am. He goes, no, you're not. I said, no, you're right. I'm going to shoot her gas
Yeah,
tank.
the girl.
And he was like, no. Got all the way to this guy's house. I drove all the way there at 1:30 in the morning. And I was about to pull in the driveway and I was like, no. And now I know you're listening to this. You're like, you still went, but I didn't pull in. But
It's
I didn't pull in.
It takes
There's
a lot.
which takes a lot because as someone who has ADHD,
Yeah.
once you make up your mind, you're going to
You're
follow
doing
all
it.
the way through.
Yeah, you can't. There's no
You
fucking
can't stop
stopping
it because you're already there. You're like, I'm already here. We're already on the downward hill. We might
Yeah.
as well just go all the way. Go big or
Yeah.
go home.
Yeah.
But you also get to this point where you're like, okay, what happens after this?
Yeah. That's what she has me thinking about now.
Yeah, you
And
got to
it-
think about the after.
Yeah, it's where, and if I focus on that, it's like I've done a couple things to like help myself too or whatever because I know that I'm not even kind of healed. Like I know that I'm on my way to getting there because I'm better today than I was yesterday. Hopefully I'll be better tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? But like I've cut certain things out to where it's not going to be a trigger for me, or at least it's a safety precaution
Oh yeah.
to where it's like I don't need that number in my phone.
Yeah, they're like little bumpers at the,
Yeah,
at
it's
the
like,
bowling alley.
yeah,
They're
it's
just little,
like-
maybe not.
You're not ready for that number in your phone.
Yeah.
You're not ready to go to that city for any reason.
Yeah.
Don't do it. And like she sat there the other day with me and she was like, what do you think happens if you do exactly what you want to do right now? And I told her, I was like,
Well, I'd get a restraining order.
Yeah, I would too.
Like,
I do 100%. But in my mind, I would be thinking, oh, this is exactly what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to show up. I'm supposed to fucking do a grand gesture is what I keep telling my daughter. Like all the time. It's like in my head, I feel like grand gestures fix stuff. It don't. It don't. Then that's exactly
Nope.
what.
That's why when you text me the other day and said, hey, can you do this? And I looked at you and I said, sure. But then I
Yeah.
didn't do
You
it
do
because
it.
I
Don't.
knew what was going to
Don't.
happen.
Yeah, well, it's just like I'm also coming to peace with a lot of other things about this now, but it's just like, does that really need to happen? Like, do I want to like this to work out one day? I don't know anymore. Like, it's not that I want it to, but I know now that if I don't enjoy my life and work on myself at the same time, you could do all the grand gestures that you fucking wanted, and it still does not fix the problems that you caused.
Yeah, and that's why I think therapy is so important. Like I fully believe everyone in the whole world should be in therapy.
Amen.
And I had that
Amen.
argument with a friend one time because she was like, "No, like I'm good," and I said, "But you're not. You
You're
probably
not.
just don't realize it because therapy just brings so much self awareness. Because like I have ADHD, OCD, major depressive disorder, and generalized
Let's go,
anxiety
bruh.
disorder. Like
I'm in that club.
I got
Love
all
it.
of them, and there are a lot of things that I do or used to do that I did not even realize were
Fucking same.
problems. Like, and I know this is probably the most extreme one, and it's so stupid, but like I have this like phobia of my hair
Yeah.
being like, if you're sitting in a chair, if my hair's over the back of the chair,
Yeah.
I'm scared somebody's gonna come by and cut it off.
Oh, no shit.
And that is a very much like an OCD thing. So it's like if I don't have my hair in a certain way and it's not even on both sides when I'm sitting in a chair, if it's over the back, somebody's gonna cut it off. Like this thing will happen. Like this magical thinking, and then
It's like a tick or something.
yeah, and then like I don't like the way my grandma washes dishes. She does.
I don't get that one.
No, these are my.
She does the
yeah.
thing where
I'm
she
not
like
OCD at all.
where she like fills the one side of the sink up and washes all the dishes in the same water.
Oh no.
And my thing is like, if she does that, I have to rewash all of the dishes, because if not, I'm like, we're gonna get sick. Like those are still dirty. And my entire life, I think I was in college, and it was when I was in college taking a psychology class, and the professor started giving examples like that, and I looked at my friends and I was like, doesn't everybody do that? And my friends were like, no, are you kidding me right now? And I was like, okay, well, I think this is what my therapist and I will be talking about next. And then we started talking about OCD and like ADHD and these things that you do and these impulses you have, or these like inabilities to control your thoughts. Like, because I will sit here and I will spiral with thoughts, but it's because there's literally something wired in my brain. Like, because normal people's brains, there's a something that fires that shuts that off. For me, it doesn't. So it just loops and loops and loops until I literally go insane. And I did not realize any of that without therapy. So here I am sitting there thinking that I'm just this crazy person and that I can't handle life. But there's explanations. So
Yeah.
I think going to therapy like gives you those explanations, because one thing I have noticed, and I'm going to call you out right now, because I want you to stop doing it, is saying that you're crazy. I know I'm
Oh, no,
crazy.
I'm
I
just
know I
saying-
sound
I know-
crazy.
I know what you
I'm
mean.
crazy. I know I
Yeah.
sound crazy, because you're not. Like,
Well, I'm having to break that, because even like me and Reagan had the longest conversation about this the other day. I'm just so used to feeling that way because I've never had a therapist until the past 2 weeks sit there and tell me like what you just said. There's a reason why you feel this way. You can't help that you feel this way. You're not crazy. The crazy people, well, almost her word for word, I'm probably going to misquote this, was the crazy people are the ones who don't seek help.
yeah.
Yeah, they're the ones that don't go and want to improve. I don't think until recently, till like literally the problems hit me in the fucking face, like Ireland just knocked me the fuck out over here. I didn't realize certain things that I was doing was a problem. And that's also why I think the over-posting, the oversharing, other stuff lately has just been like, I'm just now realizing that I fucked up, that I was the problem. There was shit that I should have been doing or viewing differently, and I just didn't. And her calling me out on it and the therapist telling me why I'm acting the way I am it's been liberating. It's felt good. It's in the past 2 weeks since I showed my ass that one night, man, I knew I had to do something different. And I really thought the therapy was going to be a joke. But I was same way I did the psilocybin trip, I was grasping for straws.
Yeah.
I needed something. I was at the end. I wasn't hanging on by a thread. I was hanging on by the thread of a thread
Yeah.
with my
Yeah.
mental health. And that's what I was trying to get off. And I shouldn't. I told you last night, I still don't think I should have released that show last week when I came off the psilocybin trip. I think I should have waited. I think I'm scared to go back and listen to it. But I had felt so good. I was still on that high. And like that Band-Aid had fucking just cut the blood from going everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like I felt so good in that moment, but I wasn't healed. Like I thought I was because I had a quick fix.
Yeah.
And she's helped me just see straight through that bullshit to where I'm
Yeah,
working now.
I think a lot of people have that impression about therapy but two, people have to realize that you can't just go to like one therapist and expect that
Yeah.
to be it. Because I think that's why a lot of people give up on therapy because
Nah, you got to shop.
If I
Yeah.
was so
You
when-
got to shop
This
around
one
for
won't
one.
be mine for long, but it's a great.
You have
It's
to
a great
shop
starter
around.
therapist.
when I first started going to therapy, so like full disclosure, when I was 16, I was in a mental hospital and I had to go because of a suicide attempt.
Yeah.
So whenever you do that, you by law, like before they'll release you, you have to be in therapy. You have to have a psychiatrist appointment set up. Like you have to do all these things before they'll agree to let you out of this facility. And if I had if I wasn't legally required to go to therapy and I went to this first one that I ever had, oh my God, I would have never gone to therapy again because she looked at me and she said, well, your life sounds really sad and pathetic. And I was like, that's why I'm fucking here, bro. Like, what? And so it
Wow.
wasn't until, it wasn't until I was 23 before
Yeah.
I found a therapist that I really liked. And then I moved, so I got to find a new one. But it takes time.
The same shit happened when I tried to kill myself in 2010. Like when this whole mental health journey and everything started for me, like right then, was I'd tell people all the time, and it is a lie, but they made me go to the same shit or where the Department of Health or whatever it is and get evaluated and shit. That person turned me off so bad. I always tell this lie. I always say I didn't want to take the pills or nothing like that. Like, and I didn't because I didn't like how it made you feel.
Yeah.
But I quit seeking help and try to start doing stuff my way then because the therapist turned me off so
Yeah.
much. It was such a bad experience for me that like literally for like the past 14 years, I've just lied to people. And like, I just didn't want to take the pills. I'm like, no,
I think
this turned me off so bad.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge thing that's kind of like even when you have like a bad teacher, like in school and you're like, I hate school. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, no, you don't hate school. You just hate like the way that teacher taught you or like how,
Exactly.
whatever it is. Or like but
Or even pastors.
yeah, like you hate church.
Yeah.
You don't hate church, I bet. Like I bet you hate the teaching or
Yeah.
honestly, like I think a lot of people end up hating church because they feel convicted and they don't know what to do about it. But that's a whole nother thing about a whole nother thing. But
You're right.
I think because I think people
you're right as hell on that.
I think
know you are.
I think people get convicted and then they don't know what to do with that because they get convicted and they're like, all right, well you just made me feel bad and now you're not giving me anything to go on.
Yeah, and that's like the past month.
Yeah.
I know that I've told this to 1,000 people in my life. I still believe that one day something's going to happen where I don't know if I want to be a preacher or something, but I've always felt led to the Lord. I've always, my entire life, and I think I've turned my back on it so much. But there's times that I get so convicted and I just get it on my heart that like that's what I want to put out into the world.
Yeah.
And then you get people to be like, but aren't you going to go drink a beer later? Or like,
Yeah.
and it's like, anytime somebody doubts me about my faith, I start doubting myself for some reason.
Yeah.
And it fucks with me so bad.
Well, I think like I grew up in a Christian home, but I also grew up in a very entertainment driven family. So
Yeah.
my dad was a producer and engineer my whole life. So we owned a studio. So I grew up seeing people from when I was in first grade, my dad took me to a bar show next to where the Melting Pot used to be on
Yeah.
Second. And I remember going to school and telling kids like, yeah, I went to a bar this weekend. Like I was in the basement of a bar and like there was a bathroom attendant and they have candies in the bathroom and all this stuff. And people were like, your dad took you to a bar? And I was like, yeah, y'all's dads don't take you to bars. We weren't drinking.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was first grade. But it got to this point where like we'd go to church on Sunday and we like grew up in a Christian family and all these things, but like some of my dad's best friends were covered head to toe in tattoos and
Yeah.
had dermal piercings on their face and were driving these cool sports cars and smoking cigarettes and drinking and all these things. And so I grew up in the sense of you can be a Christian and you can also
Be different.
be different. There's
Yeah.
not this
It's
like
not a cookie cutter image of what a Christian is.
No, and I
Right.
think that goes back to, we've talked about this a lot before. It's just because someone's moral and ethical code is different
Yes.
from yours.
Yeah, you can't
doesn't
define somebody else's
no.
morals.
Well, that's-
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
And it's totally separate from your relationship with God.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
that's like the whole sin debate of like homosexuality and like murder and all these things. And in case anybody didn't know,
Say it before I say it.
there's no totem pole to like sin. It's not like
all
murder's
created
up
equal.
here and like, lying is over here and like stealing a cook. Like there's no level of like, oh,
Your
well, you're
butthole's on the
Yeah.
internet, so don't you ever go
yeah.
to church again?
There's
Yeah.
not like there's not a yellow, like red, green. Like there's not a.
No.
It's all right here.
No.
So like I don't want to hear it out of anybody's mouth. Well, I mean, I'm gonna be real honest with you. I know a lot of girls who do OnlyFans.
Yeah. We got one sitting right here.
Yeah, that doesn't hurt my feelings. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think, or I've got friends who have, I have friends that lived in the Playboy Mansion.
Yeah.
I have friends that have done things that I would never do, but like, get it, girl.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not here to judge,
Yeah.
but also, I can't look at you and be like, well, you did this, so you're not, girl, I've been doing some dumb shit.
Yeah.
All right. Like,
Right. It is
Like-
what it is.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I don't think I'm going to get to heaven and the Lord's going to be like, hey, you got them tattoos on your
Yeah.
leg?
See, I'm
Nah,
the same
girl.
way, dude.
You're not
the-
going to make it up here.
you don't
I'm
got
the
to
same
pass.
way.
Sorry.
Yeah, like I don't think that's how that works.
Yeah.
And I think
You're right, or would you?
I think the conviction of people and the way that Christians versus non-Christians or whoever, I think sometimes they look at Christians and they look at the church and they're like, well, that one pastor from TikTok,
Yeah.
he made a comment about this and I can't go there. And I'm like, nah, if you knew half the stuff that happened in the church,
I don't
like
do organized
every-
religion anyway.
like
because
for
of
every,
that.
I don't either.
I don't know how many pastors that I know personally or just know over social media that have cheated on their wives in the church with a secretary. They've got kids who are having babies out of wedlock that they're just hiding. They have kids who are getting divorced. In case y'all didn't know, you're not supposed to do that in the Bible.
Yeah.
So you can't, like, I know people in the church that I grew up in, and y'all can go ahead and they're going to watch this because they love to watch stuff that I do. They really do. I know a pastor that was on staff that divorced his wife of like 30 some odd years. They had 3 kids, great marriage. They up and got divorced one day. Nobody really knew why. And then like 6 weeks later, he was married to the secretary lady at the church.
Yeah.
And nobody ever said anything about it. They just let it go. But then when I was 17 years old in that same church, one of my friends got pregnant and everybody acted like she fell off the face of the planet.
Yeah.
They acted like she'd come to church on Sundays and they wouldn't talk to her. She didn't go to youth group. Like people just would act like she just was a ghost.
It's where that plate sits and it
Right.
gets a little
But I was
heavier.
like, I don't understand how homeboy can just get divorced from his wife and then all of a sudden marry the secretary. But God forbid this girl
Yeah.
is 17 years old, gets pregnant. Like, we're just going to act like that didn't happen.
There's too many people that have ruined church for everybody else
Mm-hmm.
because of that. I would damn near bet you that anybody you come in contact with for the rest of today, you could ask them if they've ever been turned off by church. And it's not God, it's by somebody in the church.
100%.
Every single fucking time.
Every time.
If you don't realize, and I'm probably going to misquote it, but I think it's where 2 or more may gather as church.
Mm-hmm.
Like
It's where
you-
2 or more are gathered. My presence is there.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's where 2 or more are gathered. My presence is there. And it's basically like,
You can have church anytime.
Yeah.
You don't need a building.
we went to home churches as kids. We went to all sorts of things. And I don't think now as an adult looking at how I grew up in the church and versus now looking at church, I was so scared of
To
like,
not go.
to not go to
Yeah.
like miss a Sunday or like do something wrong because it was so fear driven.
Yeah.
That I was like, man, I can't ever mess up. Like, I'm going to be damned to hell if I do something wrong. Like, lightning's going to strike and I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that it's a status symbol to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not going for the right reasons.
No, it
Like
is.
there's so many people. Like I know where we're from. There's one church in particular in the middle of town that when we were growing up, you were considered something special if you went to this church. If you and your family went to this church,
Yes.
it meant you had the nice car. It meant you had the nice house. It meant like it was a status symbol to say, "Oh, I go to this church."
Yeah.
And there's nothing different about that church to some little country ass church that's 20 miles away that's got 5 people going to it on Sundays.
Yeah.
I actually think there's more faith in the place with 5 people than a mega church.
Well, yeah, because in those mega churches, you've got, and I'm not hating on mega churches because,
Oh, I will. You don't have to.
well, here's the thing. I've been to a lot of churches in my lifetime, and I think there are great churches, and they can be mega churches, and I think there are great churches that can have 5 people. I think there can also be really shitty mega churches
Absolutely.
and shitty just little churches.
Yeah.
And I think it's based on, obviously, it's based on how they're actually teaching the Bible and how they're
Yeah.
actually like,
What's driving them?
yeah, because you can get up on stage and teach the Bible, or you can be a pastor and get up on stage and have a feel-good sermon and make sure your numbers are up and make sure your
Exactly.
tithe bucket gets filled.
Exactly.
Like, that's fine. But there's also that, like, there's just something about the way that, like, churches have gone from, hey, we're going to go on Sundays and we're going to worship and we're going to hear the word and we're going to discuss this and then we're going to have Bible study and we're going to eat potluck down in the basement, to now I'll go to church with my mom and I'm worshiping the Lord and there's some kid over here with a video camera in my face and I'm like, buddy,
Yeah.
I
It's
don't look great right now. I'm crying, and you're going to use this on Instagram for some kind of like hook to
Yeah.
get somebody in here because you think,
Absolutely.
oh, they're feeling something. First of all, I'm tired. Second of all, I'm having a moment, and I don't need it photographed and put on your Instagram.
I get it. There's that is where talking about your faith publicly, because I know it'll fucking happen today, and it was took the wrong way. But it's like, I'm not doing it for likes or views. I'm doing it because it's literally something that's on my heart, and I want to get out. Like there's certain stuff that I want to change about my show. There's certain stuff that like I want to kind of push towards more mental health shit.
Yeah.
Not sobriety stuff, but maybe like a better living.
Yeah.
Maybe like, hey, you know, it's been fun for 36 years having a good time. You know what I want to do for the next 36 years?
Right.
Though? Be here, be healthy.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of what I want to push stuff to. But I feel like, what are you laughing for? She's like, you're not making it to 72, buddy.
No, I just because I feel like like you said, we do have such a family here, and
Yeah.
it's like all my rowdy friends all the time,
Yeah.
and this is where we cue in. All my rowdy friends have settled
Oh
down.
fuck yes, that's perfect. But no, it's like it's just not fun no more. Like
No.
hell, it might have been me, you, and Riley was talking about this here with somebody in the past couple weeks. It's like I've done for where we're from. They might as well think I'm like king swinging dick. Like I've got to be around beautiful women. I've got to be around big name artists. I've got to do all this shit that where I'm from, you don't get to do.
Yeah.
You get married to your high school sweetheart. You work a 9 to 5. You're probably going to get divorced at some point in time in your 30s. And you're going to start all the fucking way over again. I've never been married. I've never settled down. And I used to think by saying settling down was like, you got to give up everything.
Yeah.
And it's not it. The older I get, it's more like, no, but you do need to do some shit different. Like,
Yeah.
you're 36 years old, dude. Like, it's time.
Yeah, like for instance, like I'm 25 years old and I've got friends who are married and have 2 kids.
Yeah.
They're not. I know people who are getting divorced already because they got married when they were 19 years old, the only guy they ever dated,
Yeah.
and now they're getting divorced and doing whatever they're doing. And I've got friends who are, owning companies and traveling and doing all these things. And I heard from a girl recently, and she did not tell me this. I just saw the screenshot of the message, and she was like, Ireland just won't grow up. She it lives in this alternate reality, and she's just living this life, this unrealistic life. Well, unfortunately for you, it's very realistic
very
because
realistic.
I am living
I
that
get it.
exact
I get
life.
it.
Like I'm living the
fucking get
exact
it.
life that you are telling everyone is unrealistic.
Yep. I get it.
She's like, well, she's 25 and she's not married, and she's 25 and doesn't have kids. Yeah, well, I also am 25 and doing whatever I want, and I have a great job, and I have great friends, and I have a great support system of friends, and I'm doing all the things that I've always wanted to do and then some.
Yep.
And you're sitting in Columbia, Tennessee, being sad in your house because
Yep.
you can't leave your house because your kid is taking a 4-hour nap. And listen, I'm not hating. I love, I've got friends who have kids and I love them. They're great. But your idea of like her idea of growing up is different than my idea of growing
Yep.
up.
Boy, I focused on this so much the past couple weeks. Your idea of success and my idea of success are completely 2 different things.
Yeah,
Okay?
100%.
Now, to me, and I'm not kissing any ass when I say this, because I know somebody's going to take this completely the wrong way.
They always will. Who cares?
But I don't really care about the money. I don't really care about nothing else. Like, I think success to me at this point is having like a family.
Yeah.
Like, I think that there's certain things that I know that I'm longing for, and I think that's my success. Like, this shit's cool. Don't get me wrong. I love what I do. But also, too, is when you stop being happy going to shit, but
Yeah.
it's like,
Oh,
when you stop getting excited about going to shit, and it's just like,
it's like a chore.
yeah,
It
it's just
becomes
like,
like a,
it's
do
like,
I
damn,
want to
this,
go to
this
that?
was fun as fuck.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, I gotta do this shit again.
I went to Barstool the other night. I have not been out. I don't ever go out anymore.
Yeah.
Ever. 2022, I was out every single night. I was partying 6 days a week. 6 days a week with a full-time 9-to-5 job. I don't know how I was doing it because no way could I do that now.
Yeah.
And I went out to Barstool the other night for my friend's birthday, and I was like, yeah, I'll go. I'm not gonna drink, but like I'll go. And I was sitting at the back of like on the top of like a booth, and I was sober as can be watching all of these people in Barstool in these sections. And I was watching men spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on bottles and like these funny little signs to impress their friends that they don't even like for a 10-second Snapchat. And I was watching like girls walk around and like try to like get attention from guys, and guys trying to get attention from girls, and all this stuff. And I remember looking around, and it was for the first time in my entire life at 25 years old, I was like, this is not fun anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to do
get
this.
it,
like,
dude.
and I'm not judging anybody that does it. If that's what you want to do and you think that is fun, by all means, have fun. I don't think that's fun anymore. And I was like, now granted, what I think is fun is hitting people, but I also can't do that forever.
Yeah.
At some point, I'm going to have to be like, all right, well, I got to,
Well, I mean, I think really the older you get, the more you realize when people say that there are seasons or chapters in your life. There is. There actually is.
There really are. And I didn't realize that until
And
recently.
everybody's are different.
Yeah.
Like me.
And the timeline of it is all
Yeah.
different. Like
yeah.
for me, at 25, I'm like, partying is not fun for me anymore.
Yeah, I think where
Like,
I think where I'm at,
But-
and where a lot of people struggle so fucking bad, is the transition period from one season to the next.
Yeah.
That waiting period to where you're just you're stuck.
Which, fun fact, has a name, and it's called liminal. Liminal, I think is the word. Liminal space.
Is it?
I believe it. I think it's liminal.
Okay.
But it's the.
It's hard. It's hard to be. I don't know
No,
big words.
no,
I don't
let me
fucking
tell you-
know.
Change is just uncomfortable
Yeah.
anyway. So
Yeah.
whenever you're sitting idly in this place that is uncomfortable, then you don't always know how to handle it. But that is just the process of growth.
Yeah.
You only grow when you're uncomfortable, and
I think you only have real growth when you're uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of like
Like,
growing
yeah.
pains when you're a kid and you're
Yeah.
like, Mom, why does my shin hurt? And you're like 12, and she's like, well, you're probably growing. Like,
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's so uncomfortable, but at the same time, like if you're able to realize that it's growing into something.
Yeah.
Like if you don't view it as a failing or you don't view it as pain, you kind of just got to view it as a necessary evil.
yeah.
Like what you're feeling in those transition periods, like it sucks. But also too, man, you're not gonna get, if you stop or you waller in your pain and you don't grow, you're never gonna figure out what's on the other side of your pain.
Yeah, and to that, I heard somebody one time say, you can stop and wallow in your pain, and you can stop and feel it because you got to feel it, but you're not going to set up a tent and camp in it.
Yeah.
Like you can sit down crisscross applesauce and feel it, and you can cry about it, and you can wallow in it, and you can take that moment and be like,
I
this
built a campground
sucks.
around that shit, it seems like
And,
lately.
and you can do all those things, but you are not going to put a tent in it and camp there and be like, this is where I'm sitting forever. Like, this is what I'm going to do. Because doing that, like, one, you can't live in a tent forever. That's going to be miserable.
Yeah.
You don't want to live in whatever. If you're wallowing in it, you're not going to want to live there forever.
No.
That's not fun.
Well,
But
it's
it's
going to
like,
be nothing but bad thoughts too. The longer you stay there, and the longer you see the same exact thing.
yeah,
every
because you're
single
just going to
day.
fester in it.
Yeah.
Like,
You
you're
gotta
just,
learn from your experiences and get up and go to the next
yeah,
chapter.
like my mom.
period.
My mom was really big when we were like growing up. I've got 3 brothers. My mom was real big in her parenting style of like, well, you messed up. How are you going to move on from it? Like, what are you going to do? My mom was not fixing it for you.
Well, see,
Oh,
and that's
you-
my problem as a mom and like as a friend. I lack empathy like so fucking bad. But I think
Which
it
I
comes
think is sometimes
from
good for kids. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like I
but
think some of
like
those things are
I
a little
laugh
tough
at that
Definitely
shit
is.
hardcore. Like even
Yeah.
with friends and relationships and stuff that
I do
I've
too.
been
My
going
friends will
like.
tell you that.
I will be like, "Are you fucking playing with me right now?"
Yeah.
Like I've been going through this, and this. I'm a mom. I'm a business owner. I'm dealing with all this OF shit,
Yeah.
and I carry on like. Get up.
Yeah,
You know what
get
I
up.
mean?
Like-
So like
Yeah,
what
I-
are you doing?
As somebody who's also like, I lack empathy and I'm very aggressive, but I
Yeah.
also like, you would never know if something's happened in my life because you just keep going. Like if you stop, no, you got to keep going. So when my friends are going through stuff or something's going on, I'm like, get up, stop. Like you don't act like this or don't do this. And then all of a sudden I've got friends who will be like, hey, you know that you're kind of mean a little bit. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not mean. And they're like, well, maybe not mean, but you've got to,
blunt.
yeah, very blunt. But they're
Yeah.
like, you've got to be a little more compassionate towards people because the way that they're hurting isn't the way that you hurt because everybody hurts and feels different. And so like
Yeah.
when I feel something, whatever's going on, if I get hurt or if like somebody hurts my feelings or I've, super stressed from work or whatever the issue is, I know how to deal with it because I've been to therapy. I have like a good daily workout program that I do. Like I do all the different things that I do. I know how to decompress properly for myself. I know like if I go on a 20-minute walk, I'll probably feel a lot better than I did 20 minutes prior. But other people may not know those things or maybe
Well, you don't
their
know.
way
You
of
don't.
feeling it.
You're ignorant.
Yeah.
Because you don't know to do them.
Right.
Like
Or
you
their
just
way
don't.
of
You have
feeling
no
it
idea.
is
You're
like-
oblivious, not ignorant.
Yeah.
Or their way of feeling it is like feeling it all the way
Yeah.
and feeling it very vocally with someone else. And
Yeah.
if that's not your way, then yeah, it seems kind of stupid.
Yeah.
But to them, that's your way might be stupid. Like
Yeah.
I know to my friends, they're like, Ireland, you can't just go to the gym every time you get mad. Yeah, I
Yeah, I
can.
can.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I
and
can.
guess what? An hour later, I'm not going to be as mad. So
That literally was what the mental health counselor. That was one of our first conversations.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't understand why I'm hurting this way, and I don't see the other side of this, the hurt. Like I don't see the other person hurting.
yeah.
And so in my mind, I automatically am like, well, they didn't give a fuck. And that's automatically where I go. Then I'm like, man, how am I hurting this fucking bad? And they just, there's nothing there. And they're like, you don't understand. Like some people shut down. They were not going to show you that they hurt.
Yeah.
It's not that they're not hurting. They're processing it. They're doing it a completely different way. Now,
or they have an outlet
Yeah,
that
they-
you haven't found.
Yeah, you just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it could be spending time with their family is how they get over hurting. Like I don't know what it is, right?
Yeah.
But for me, mine until past couple of weeks, like mine was lashing out. Like mine was I'm just now figuring out at 36 that if you tell me you need space, I need to shut the fuck up. There's nothing that I can say to you that is going to make you not still need space.
Well, you
like-
and I had that conversation because a while ago, because I'm that way where it's like
Go ahead.
when you and I are arguing right now,
Yeah.
and I look at you and I say, I'm so angry right now that I can no longer process this conversation without hurting your fucking feelings.
Yes.
I need to walk out of this room and I need you to not talk to me until I come back to you and say, all right, let's talk about
Yeah.
this. So that's me telling you that I need space.
Yep.
If you then, Josh Terry, walk into the room that I'm in and even look at me,
Yep.
I'm fucking slitting your throat.
Okay.
I just am.
100%. And I'm just now getting that because I think that if I walk in that room, though, I can fix the problem.
Oh, hell no.
That's me not listening and not. I automatically think that when somebody says something to me negative, that it's a bridge burnt, that you fucking hate me. Like, it's like if you tell me you need space or you need time, I'm automatically thinking that there's someone else. I'm thinking every bad fucking
Yeah.
thought that you could possibly think of why you need space and what you're going to do in that time period of space. But that's not the case.
No, sometimes it's I
you
just don't want to
need
look at
fucking
you.
space.
Yeah.
And all I've ever done when somebody has done anything like that is I've made it worse because I thought I could fix it. And now what has been taught to me or teaching to me is like, you can't fix it. You can work on you. You need to take that time and work on you.
Yeah.
If you're going to try to fix that situation and you're not fixed, or you're not trying to heal, you're not gonna do nothing but fuck it up 100 times worse.
Or just make yourself completely fucking crazy.
Oh, that's what
trying
I
to
do.
fix- That's like me, you know, just
Yeah.
spend $5,000 trying to fix some other motherfucker.
Yeah.
That's smart.
It happens.
Yeah, well, I don't remember what doctor it is, but there's a really famous doctor, Jordan
Jordan
Peterson.
Peterson. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I love listening to him.
I love
Yeah,
listening to him.
Yeah.
And he said something the other day. I was watching a clip of his podcast, and
Oh my God,
he was
explains
like,
shit so good.
he was like, most of the problems that you run into, and most of the problems that just like, if you like you and I were like in an argument,
Right.
most of the problems that you and I are having right now in this argument, or with whatever's going on, can be fixed if the other person could listen to the other person.
Yes.
If there was a mutual listening,
Just
understanding.
communication.
Oh,
Yes. And he was like, it's not.
And respectful
Yeah.
communication.
He was like, it's not I need to talk to you more, or I need to say more words to get them across to you. If you would just sit and you would listen, most of your problems could be fixed within the day. And he was like, he goes, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but if you would just listen, and I am not a good listener.
I am learning
because
how bad I am.
I like to do things my way
Yep.
and my way only. I don't want to do it your way. Your way is not correct. My way is the only correct way, because I grew up in a house where I don't think anybody can take better care of me than me.
Yep.
I don't think there's anybody on the planet who can take better care of me
And
than
then
I can take care
bet you
of me.
project that though onto the person you care about or whatever, because then you think you can take care of them and you know better than them.
Correct.
About themselves.
Right.
That's so fucking ludicrous because I'm that way so bad.
So I'm not a good listener. I'm also, as someone who talks a lot, not a good communicator,
Nope.
because I'm not going to tell you how I actually feel. I'm just going to tell you what you want to hear.
Yep.
So that I can get past whatever little hump we're in. I know how to get out of it, because I know what you want to hear, because I know how to do this.
Yeah.
So,
And then you just like,
So-
if you meet somebody at the same like level as you, you know how we're talking about being on the same level.
Uh-huh.
A couple of years ago, Josh and I had a miscommunication.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Just a
But
miscommunication.
both of him and I shut down both of us, and then we were still stuck with each other for like 5 more days in
Yep.
Florida. And then we're not even fucking talking, and I'm just like Ubering to my own, doing my
Well,
own
yeah.
thing, and you know what I mean? And
yeah.
it's like, why don't you just sit down and look at each other in the eye and communicate?
that literally just happened to me with
stupid.
a girl that I know. And we're not like, bless you.
The fuck was that?
It was tickling my nose for like 30 minutes.
This girl that I know, we're not like best friends, but we're friends. Like, we have a lot of mutual friends, and we've done a lot of stuff together. But like, we don't like hang out one-on-one, but we'll hang out in a group. And she like stopped. We just stopped talking one day. Like, kind of stopped like inviting
Yeah.
each other to things and all this different stuff. And one of our mutual friends was like, "Hey, do you care if Ireland comes?" And she was like, "Actually, no." She was like, "And here's the reasons why, X, Y, and Z." And I was like, I didn't know. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
know that I gave her like an attitude one day, or I didn't know that I was being aggressive with her one day, or I didn't know that me not talking to her at that one party like made her feel like I didn't like her anymore. I was
Yeah.
like, she was busy, so I just moved on and whatever, because it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
And so I texted her and I was like, "Hey, like, this is what I just heard. I just want to let you know, like, those were not my intentions. I'm really sorry if I made you feel that way, because I didn't intend to make you feel bad, like, or make you feel like I didn't like you, or make you feel like I was being mean to you because I didn't talk to you.
Yeah.
You were busy that day, and like I had other things to do, and it was just this thing." And she was like, "Hey, thanks for texting me. Like, that was really kind. Like, I didn't tell you because I didn't know how to tell you." And I was like, that right there, if you would just be like, "Hey, you made me feel this way, and here's why, and here's the example." You give the other person the opportunity to be like, to either take accountability for it or show their true colors and then just write you off. And then you know that you don't want to be friends with them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that listening, the whole, man, it's so hard though. Like, it's so hard to tell somebody. It's not that I don't want to listen to you. It's not. I'm just not picking up what you're putting down sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how, and also the way my brain processes stuff, and I'm getting it now that this needs to be fixed. But it's like, you sit here and tell me something, and I think that if me and you are good enough friends with any of y'all, I ain't got to fix that shit right now. I can fix it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, why I don't have, let me work on this tomorrow. You don't get tomorrow sometimes. Though. Like, sometimes that straw breaks the camel's back today when you should have been working on this shit, right?
Yeah.
And it's you have to, anybody, especially me, you gotta listen better. The listening part, I'm figuring out, is so fucking important, and I don't know why the fuck I didn't get that before.
Well, it's just if you expect to be heard and valued by another person, you have to be able to give that in return. Because
Yeah.
why would you expect somebody else to do it when you're not even willing
You know,
to do
you know what the
it?
therapist told me the other day, or mental health counselor. I don't want to fucking give her something she's not. She told me I was entitled with my feelings. That I thought my feelings were more important than yours. And it's not that I just never realized it. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, how come you didn't do this? How come you did this? And it's like, it's because I wanted to, and I thought it was fun for everybody. And it's like, why didn't you ask them what they wanted to do or how they felt about it?
Mm-hmm.
You just assumed that it was going to be okay because you were passionate about it. And like, that's not, and I was like, fuck, that, I thought my feelings were more important than everybody else's and did not fucking realize that.
Well, even in the examples that you were talking about earlier, like whenever you were calling this person over
Yeah.
and over again because you don't have impulse control, it's also like, you know, how you also don't stop to think, like, how is me calling them 30 times going to make them feel? How's it going
Oh,
to
yeah.
impact their day?
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Well, it's that, but also like have you ever gotten like, and I'm sure everybody has, like a text message or a phone call from someone that you either are mad at, haven't heard from in a long time, or like just like something's going down and like y'all are trying to take up space and you get, and their name pops up on your phone. All of a sudden now you might be having anxiety on the other side of that phone, but now I've got a whole new slew of anxiety that I
Oh,
didn't know that was going to happen today.
Fuck
Dude,
yes.
I caved the other day. I called Josh because I was in the parking lot crying. And I was like, why is he texting me right now?
Yeah.
Why is this happening?
Oh, it's the scariest
and
thing.
I was just like, and I was
You
with
lose your
like
shit. Like, it's,
two of my
you
kids trying to get them food, and I'm sitting there bawling.
can't,
I'm
Yeah.
like,
you can't control it.
Yeah, I had that because I'm going to shout out John Haywood. God bless him.
Hey, Bubba.
I sat with him at Red Door, I don't know, for 4 or 5 hours, like a few weeks ago, because my ex, I had not heard from him in weeks or anything like that.
Yeah.
And like, we don't talk. We did not end on good terms, and we are not friends. We do not talk. I don't care if I ever see him again. But he feels the need whenever I'm finally good to show up again. And when I'm good like that, I'm not even thinking about him. But he showed up and he wanted me to talk to him, and I had to sit at Red Door for hours after it because I was so fucking mad because
Yeah.
I was like, I was good, and like you said, like it causes all this anxiety because it's like, why are you showing up? What are we gonna have to deal with? And I too have to stop myself a lot, like, because sometimes I will get pissed at, like, because we live in a small, like, Nashville's a big city, but it's real small,
It's a
especially
small,
when you're
small town.
especially when you're musicians and you're all running in the same circles, and he's another musician, and I will hear things sometimes that do piss me off, not because I still care or anything, but it's like, it makes you feel like shit sometimes whenever you see or hear about them doing things for people that they never did for you,
Yeah.
because then you sit there and think, like, was I not good enough for you to want to do this for or whatever? And so then I do, because I'm crazy, not crazy. I told you not to do it. I'm not going to do
Yeah.
it. But I just mean, like, I get angry, and
Yeah.
and it makes me, I lack impulse control too. So I want to text him and be like, you motherfucker, why'd you do this or that? And then I have to step back and say, what good is that going to do? Is that going to make our relationship better? Is that going to make our relationship worse? Like, what is this actually going to do? But I don't think a lot of people are able to do that. And that's something that I had to learn to do with years and years of therapy, is like, before I do something, ask, like, is this going to make you feel better?
Yeah.
Is it going to make them feel better?
It's gonna make the situation better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, like that's where, like, she's trying to teach me now is understand that whatever you think you want to do, when you don't sit there and think about it for a little bit, if you just act on your first response, is not the fucking correct response. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to be like calculated all the fucking time or whatever, but like, if you know that you have a problem with impulse control or whatever, and you make the worst move first all the time, why not just sit back and not make the first move? Like, why not just, and it does suck to let that anxiety and everything to fucking deal with it and just sit there, but also, like, you're not going to make it better.
Yeah.
Whatever you think you're about to do that's going to be just this fucking awesome moment is not going to come off like that
there's
fucking ever.
I think
channels
being
back-
self-aware.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, with
Yeah.
like with
I mean,
me,
hello.
with me, somebody could walk in that door right now, and if me and him got into a verbal altercation and he punched me in the face, I can get over somebody punching me in the face in a matter of a minute. I won't ever think about it again. But if you hurt my feelings, I lose it. Like you, I have. That's where like I have a problem with, and it's just like, gotta do better. But I didn't even know some of this shit. And I know that there's so many folks out there, they'll listen to this and be like, they're all off, but they're off. I didn't realize I was off. Like, I knew I had problems and shit. Like, I knew I had to deal with depression and anxiety like a motherfucker. But I didn't realize the other stuff until I started talking about it.
I don't think most people
Yeah.
do because
Yeah.
I think when that happens, when you don't know that something's off, like other stuff besides like the big ones like depression,
Yeah.
anxiety, that like most everyone can pretty much be like,
You know that you got
I
that,
think
yeah.
I have anxiety. Like you
Yeah.
can probably figure that
Yeah.
out. But like the other stuff, you don't know because you've lived with it for so long and it's become your
normalized.
normal.
It's normalized.
That your normal is like, I remember when I was 18 years old, probably when I was like 17, probably, but I didn't have anxiety. Like
Yeah.
that was not, I didn't even know what that word was.
Yeah.
Cause I just was living my life, however it was. But I probably didn't know it. And I remember a friend of mine, she had said something. She was like, I'm really anxious. And I was like, what does that even mean? She was like, you'll find out soon enough. And she was older than me. And then when I got diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, I was like, is that why I would like stay awake for hours and hours and hours after watching a stressful movie? Is because my brain is just like doing the thing and my heart rate is just constantly like beating 100 miles an hour. And now I'm like thinking about all the terrible things that could happen. Or like I'll lay awake. I have a younger brother who I adore. I'll lay awake and think about the dumb stuff that he does. And I'm like, what if he dies? What if he gets a car wreck? What if he races
yeah.
his car? What if he jumps off a bridge and he lands in the water wrong and there's a rock and he breaks his neck? And all these things. And I remember telling my mom that. She was like, you do that all day? And I was like, mm-hmm. On top of everything else I do, I also do that in the back of my head. She was like, that's not... And I was like, that's not normal. And I was
Yeah.
like, other people don't do that? And she was like,
I had to be called out. So like, I had this bad thing that I would do, and like all of us got our demons that we don't like talking about. But I'll get drunk, good and drunk, and I'll wait till I'm like if I go out. This happened last time I was in Nashville, so I got called out about it. But like, I got in my feels so bad once I got back home, and it was like, I want to address these things now. And it wasn't that I was wanting to address one thing. It was 100 different underlying things. And it's like, it all comes out then because I'm vulnerable at that point.
Yeah.
Like I'm letting it out. And the person who called me out about it was like, that's not how you're supposed to process shit. You're not supposed to wait until you're all liquored up and getting your feelings.
Yeah.
Like if everybody's going to be like, man, I love you so much. Like you mean so much to me when I've been drinking. And you might get a tear in your eye. You might say some shit like that. But when it's fucking demons and shit wanting to come out of you, like your battles is like, do you have them tucked down so much and you're always stressing about them all day, every day, that the only time they can find the surface is when you're just that far gone, you're blackout drunk, that's how they get out. And I was like, that's bullshit. Like, whatever. Like, I didn't realize it was an actual problem. And then it's like, that's not not normal.
I think going back to the self-awareness, because I will just be honest, and this is my biggest issue. Like, I've always been in therapy, even since I was a little kid. My dad just always had me in it, so I'm thankful for that. But that self-awareness, therefore, that's why I lack empathy, and I get sick of. You and I had this conversation too, of people using their mental health as a fucking crutch and falling
It's like
back
their
and saying,
handicap.
oh, it's my mental health and it's this. No, you are being fucking stupid.
Well,
and you're making
or you're
conscious
just being
decisions.
mean.
And you're being mean and
You're
you're
being
being
manipulative.
manipulative.
Yeah,
is
being
what you're doing.
You're being
Yeah.
manipulative.
Yeah.
And
It's-
conniving.
I can't. Oh shit.
Let's all be honest.
Because kind of what you're talking about, I've seen with a couple of people recently, and the thing is like, you know what I wish I could do? I wish I could turn this off. Like I wish I could. I know it has to be worked on. I know there's no quick fix for it. I know that it's something that I have to work on. I can't just one day decide today's the day that I'm turning it off, and I'm going to make everything I do
Oh, I
moving
wish.
forward about something completely different. Like, this
you
is going to be
imagine?
my crutch. Like, this is going to be who I am.
Yeah.
I
That
wish.
that can't define you.
Yeah, like it's
Like it can't. I'm sorry.
you have to live with this, and you have to come to terms with it. But if you come to terms with it and you know how to address it every time, and you know what your triggers are, you know what everything that you need to stay the fuck away from is. Sometimes, you know, I had to make her and Riley take my fucking phone like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah, like I had to, but then you gave it back to me the night. Thank you. That was a great move on your part.
Don't you blame me, Ricky Bobby.
No, I appreciate you keeping it out my hand as long as you did.
Because the only reason I gave it back to you is because you fucking held a knife to my throat.
What?
You didn't, but it felt like
Jesus Christ!
I was like, hold on, we gotta talk.
No,
real
I've been
quick.
drinking a lot. Well, I was drinking a lot then, but it was like, did I? No,
No,
I know
you didn't
I know you
actually
didn't.
do that, but you were very adamant that I give it back to you.
Yeah, I know. But no, like those people that use it, and I don't know another way to put it. They use it to where
They use it.
to where we wish we didn't have to use it.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't have to sit here and talk about it. I wish that I could sit here and tell you that I was a normal motherfucker. And that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But
Like-
it's not going to happen. The people that use that shit and they're not using it for the right reasons.
Okay.
That's
all right.
really
Hold
fuck-
on.
Like,
this is
I'm
the
sorry,
hill I
you're
will
fucked
die
up
on.
on a whole new level.
Yeah.
No, that if you.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
This is the hill that I will die on, and I will die on this so passionately because I know people personally that do this. I know someone, and I'm not going to name names, and that is okay. And
Yeah, we don't name names on the show.
sometimes we do, though. I've done it.
Well, it's got to be somebody that might have been on here before. Yeah.
Anyway, the point is that I know someone who has never been to a therapist, never been to a psychologist, has never been formally diagnosed with a single thing, and gets on Instagram and on Instagram stories and talks about anxiety and depression and how to deal with it and how to cope with it and how to pray about it and all these different things. And I've gotten in a real argument about, like, you are not going to tell me that you're anxious about going to Kroger because you don't like other people, when the reason I don't like to go to Kroger is because I think someone's going to shoot me in the back of the head.
Yeah, I think I'm
Like-
gonna wreck on the fucking way
Right.
there.
Like, I think I'm going to get to Kroger and somebody's going to be like, hey, you're that girl. And then I'm going to get, like, shot in the temple.
Yeah.
You're worried about going to Kroger because you just don't want to see another person.
Yeah.
But you've never
Yeah,
been
but
formally
I don't-
diagnosed
you can kind of
with
tell those
anything
people.
that I'm
You
like,
can tell them people real quick because
Right.
the shit they say.
I'm
Oh
like-
yeah, you might get a couple likes, you might get a couple shares or whatever. But it's
Right.
like the people who know that the actual battle. You go to creative vets. You go to creative vets and you hang around those men and women that deal
Mm-hmm.
with PTSD. You hear their stories and you hear why they tell their stories.
yeah.
Those are the
Like, I
people
don't-
like you cannot help.
I understand what y'all are saying or trying to say, but I also don't really know that it's our place to
Define it.
To define it.
because
Also fair.
because you
You don't know their battles either.
you don't know that they haven't been diagnosed with something, but
No.
also just
Well,
because
except
you,
that
just
she
because
publicly
you,
posts that. But
yeah, but what I'm trying to say is just because you are
Every time that you talk her or interrupt her, I think she's gonna backhand the fuck out you. I'm like,
honestly, here's the deal.
I'm
I
over,
would-
I'm
I
over
would
here
never,
like I ain't interrupting that.
No,
bitch.
I would.
well,
I ain't
just
back
because-
talking her.
I'm not gonna. No, I would not backhand her only because I'm scared of her because she has a mugshot and I don't.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, she's actually about that
I
shit.
have a few of them.
But just
Yeah,
because
see,
you
I'm in
haven't
between the two.
been diagnosed with something doesn't mean you aren't struggling with something. Like, I was not diagnosed with most of my issues until I was 19 years old. So I went 19 years. Like, my therapist, my psychiatrist can trace it back to being like around 6 years old. So I went all of those years not knowing that I had anything wrong, not knowing. So, like, a formal diagnosis doesn't really mean shit. But also, what I've had to learn recently, it goes back to the empathy thing, is it's not our place to define, because I have a
It's David's piece of shit Mustang. Isn't
Yep.
It?
I have a problem, and I know that this is a problem with me because I have been through a lot of traumatic
Yeah.
things that most people luckily don't have to deal with.
Yeah.
And because I have been through so many of those things, it's like you were saying, like, it's hard for people to tell me their problems and me not say, do you know what the fuck I've been through? And this is what you're worried
Yes.
about? But I had this lesson when I was in high school. I was I was like a counselor for kids with my church, and this middle school kid, I think he was like 11 or 12, came up to me and was like bawling, so upset because he lost his favorite pillow or something, and it was like he just had an attachment to this pillow. And I had a hard time showing him empathy because I was like, when I was your age, I was going through a lot worse, friend. But you have to understand that what they are going through is just as big and just as hurtful as what you're going through to them.
Those same way all sin is created equal, all trauma is.
Yeah, I think
you can't get away from. I can't tell you what is traumatic in your life no more than you can tell me what's traumatic in mine.
I had a therapist who, and I don't know if you've ever been fired from therapy. I've been fired from therapy twice
I have too.
because my therapist looked at me in my eyes and she was like, I don't think I can help you. Because she was like, I'm not qualified to even like unpack what you just brought to me.
Yeah.
And so which is a whole nother thing why you got to shop around to find someone who's completely qualified to deal with like what you've been through. But
mine's probably gonna be a psych ward.
But I think she talked about the threshold of trauma.
Yeah.
And while your threshold, okay, and I don't know anything that, well, I'll just use you because you're right here. Yeah. Like your threshold for trauma and like everything that you've ever been through might be right here, right? And in your brain, my threshold should be here. But because that my most traumatic thing is like this, to me, my threshold is also right here.
Yes.
And so, like to that kid, like him losing that pillow, his life might have been so easy, and that pillow he lost might have been the worst thing that ever happened to him. Whereas like I had a kid, I was a camp counselor at church too, and I was at camp, and we had a kid, and she was sharing things during like cabin time at night that I was like, wow, she's 12 years old. Somebody better call her mom because I don't think she's ever shared that with her mom before. And we should probably call DCS. Like, we need to call somebody. Like, or CPS, Child Protective Services. I was like, somebody's got to make a call. And as like, but then there's other kids who were like, my mom took my phone away because I posted a TikTok with a bad word. And I'm like, to both of you, that's very traumatic.
That's the worst of the worst.
Right. But that's the worst of the worst that person has experienced. And so, like, I get that. Like, I lived through more things by the time I was 16 than I think most people have lived through in their whole lives.
Yeah.
That, like, I saw things as a 13-year-old that no other 13-year-old should ever have to see. And I would never wish it on another human being. But because of that, my threshold is, like, way far down. Like, somebody can look at me and be like, Ireland, you know what I did last night? And if they told me they murdered somebody, I'd be like, all right. Okay.
My friend Elizabeth
I
was
get it.
just making fun of
fucking
me.
100%.
And you just take a deep breath and you're like, that's a new one, but all right. Like,
I get it.
you kind of put on your big girl panties and you're like, this is where we go. Like, I remember I couldn't even drive a car. So I was probably 14 or 15. I was at church and this woman walked in with her baby and she had long bleach blonde hair, like long. Like I didn't know what extensions were. So I had no idea. I was like, wow, beautiful. And she was real tiny, and she had these and we were in church. So these are the things that I thought about. I'm not judging. These are just the things I thought in church as a 14, 15-year-old girl. She had long white blonde hair. She had these big eyelashes. She had massive boobs with these huge tattoos across her boobs. And like, she was showing them in church. And in my head, I was like, you're not allowed to do that, but whatever. And she had like these little booty shorts on in church. And I remember her walking in, and it was like kind of late. And I was like, man, what is she doing here? Like, who is that? Like, something's happened in her life, but who's she here with or what's going on? And she sat in the back, and I ended up becoming really good friends with her and learning her entire life story. And like, she had lived in LA for a really long time, and she had been in and out of the industry, and she was in Tennessee because someone had bought her. She had signed a really bad contract and was like stuck in it, like stuck. And she had met this guy who runs a nonprofit and had paid her out of this really bad contract. And he was like, the only like catch about me paying you out of this contract and getting you out of this is that you have to move states with your kid and figure out a better life for him. And he was like, I don't care how you do it. I don't care how you make money, but I don't want you to be in this state because you were in this bad contract, and I don't want you to get tied up with these people again. But you've got to move. And so I ended up becoming really good friends with her and like babysitting her kids so she could like get a job and do all these things. And I would learn all sorts of things about the life she lived and all these things. And that was the first time in my life that I thought, well, I've lived a really traumatic life. And to me, but homegirl has lived a life.
Yeah, that's
And then, and it put in perspective at a really young
It's
age of
humbling,
like,
too.
yeah,
Like,
but
it's-
it put it in perspective of like, you can't judge somebody else. Like, I'm sure people look at me and they're like, oh, like she kind of gets whatever she wants. And she, you know, fights in these arenas and she just like gets it handed to her. And it's like, not really. I've lived a lot of life and I've worked really hard to get where I am. And it kind of goes back to that, like, you can't really look at somebody and judge them for what they've done because you don't know what they've been through to get to that point.
yeah, that's something that like
And how they're like, that's the only way homegirl was surviving of whatever she was doing. And it's like, yeah, you lived on the streets in LA and yeah, you lived on the streets of Las Vegas and you've lived with some things. But she was like, she was like, if I wouldn't have lived the life I did and had the job I had, she was like, my parents kicked all 3 of my siblings out. She was like, I was emancipated at 15 years old, taking care of her like 11, 12, 13-year-old siblings. She was like, how else was I supposed to make money? What was I supposed to do?
And that's what people don't, you know, Josh has had me on the show for years as Mandy and as Scarlett, but a lot of people that aren't in my circle don't realize I went through a divorce 7 years ago. I have 8 children.
Yeah.
Like they're mine under my roof. I take
got a
care of
baseball
them.
team.
Like that's why I own businesses. I run shit, and
Yeah.
I've done as well as I have, and I've got unmarked success now.
Yeah.
Like in the last couple months, I'm blown the hell away. I'm like, pinch me, somebody right now.
And it's like,
But I had to do that.
Yeah.
That wasn't a choice. There's no like gray area there.
yeah, it was like, I either do this and my kids can get fed. And this is what she said. She was
Yeah.
like, well, my siblings got fed and we didn't live on the streets. And I had an apartment and they got to go to high school and finish high school because we had an address. They couldn't go to school if we didn't have an address. She was like,
Yeah.
I had to have a job so I could put an address to my siblings' school so that they could be enrolled in the public school system. She was like, there was no way in hell that I was going to give up on them. She was like, because my parents gave up on me, I wasn't going to give up on them. She was
Yeah.
like, and now I've got a kid. And I remember like at 14, 15, watching her walk into church and being like, what is she doing here? To like, now I watch her and I'm like,
Well, I
wow,
mean,
like,
in
way to
all-
go.
Right.
In all fairness, you know, you don't have a great testimony unless you've been through hell.
Yeah.
Some people I've said it since I started doing the show, whatever, 3 or 4 years ago now, is you got warriors in this world and you got preachers. You got some people that are supposed to actually live by an example. And I don't mean do the right thing. It's if you go up, I love bikers. I love hearing a biker preacher. I love hearing like anybody like that, right?
There's a biker church here.
Yeah, I love that because when you see somebody that's been through hell and they still have more faith than most people that are squeaky clean, it does something to you.
Yeah.
Like it hits you in a way that you can't be fucking hit by some starched jean wearing or khaki wearing preacher. Like people just don't get it. Some people want to see the squeaky clean.
Yeah.
I want to see the person who was at the bottom pits of hell
Yeah.
and chose faith. And faith is the only way it's got them through it. And there's just you cannot have for people like me, and I won't speak for you guys. That shit hits me different because it's like I can relate to this person.
Yeah.
I can relate to somebody that's like that. But if they wouldn't have went through the hell that they've went through or the hell that we go through, you don't get that testimony at the end of the day. Like you don't get
Yeah.
to make that difference in somebody's life.
Well, I think part of that goes to like where you're saying some people lead by example and some people are like supposed to be examples. I know a preacher in New York City who has been through hell and back. You know that show on TBN and it's like the testimony story, like the
I know what you're talking
100
about. It's like the old school.
It's like the old
Oh,
guy
yeah,
ra-
the
100
old,
Club or
like
something,
from
whatever.
The 100
80s
Club.
or
100 Club.
70s. Yeah.
And you can look it up on YouTube because I remember it was this pastor my dad knew and he came, my dad was like, yeah, he's coming to our house. He's going to have dinner or whatever. And he got to our house and he had like a long ponytail and he showed up on a Harley and he had tattoos from his neck down and he had these big gauges and like he was wearing like a skull and crossbones t-shirt. And let me tell you, when I was a kid, I grew up in one of those churches where I thought if you had spiky hair, you were going to hell. So it was real interesting for me to. I was like, this guy's a pastor.
You would have loved
at
me
his
when I was in
church.
high school.
Oh, I
Oh,
had
you
pink
definitely
hair.
were
Oh,
the goth
I had
kid.
pink hair in
I
high
never
school.
told you that, but you were the
really?
goth kid,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I was emo to the core.
Oh,
Serious?
Purple
I-
hair,
You
eyeliner.
don't see
girl.
Yeah.
I had,
I see it.
I had
seen
pink
since
hair,
I met
purple
you.
hair. I shaved my head one time. Like I was doing because I was
Yeah.
like,
You've
but
seen her in every light except for what she like.
Her?
No, you were talking about
Except
her.
the
last
only
night.
one you've been right about.
Yeah, I
is
know.
I was.
Well,
I
I
was
thought
the
for the
emo
I thought for
kid.
the longest time when we first met, she was a lesbian.
I know. That's
Yeah.
what
For
I
the
was just
longest
saying
time.
last night. I
I'm
thought
sitting
Court
next
was
to her the
les-
first time she plays my show, and it's still gonna be funny to me the rest of my life. Some people ain't gonna like it. We were standing there and we was talking and bullshitting, and just because the way she was dressed, somebody walked past and had a fat ass, and I was like, "Damn, that girl has a fat ass," and she just looked at me like, "Yeah, why the fuck are you saying it to me?"
I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought you were lesbian too, only because he.
Yeah!
Oh no! Only because he told me that. He
I think
told me
I think I
that.
told everybody.
He
Yeah,
did.
I'm
And he was
pretty
like-
sure Josh
and
told
so
me.
when
Right?
I love
but
lesbians.
then,
I get
but
it.
then,
So now that's probably the rumor around town.
probably
But
is because
Oh,
he told me
please! I
that.
hope I'm responsible for
let
that.
me clear this up right now. I'm in fact not a lesbian. I do dress like a man from 1975 that chain smokes cigarettes
she
and lives
likes
in a
dick.
trailer.
Well, he told me that, and then you and I did the
Well,
show together.
if Josh is the reason I'm
Ireland's
single
a
for the rest of my
chewer.
fucking life because everyone thinks I'm a goddamn
If I gotta be
lesbian.
single, bitch, you gonna be right here with me. We'll be lesbians together.
Like I said, not there's anything wrong with that. Like I pray, and people have told me that I'm praying to the wrong person because I pray to God sometimes because I hate men so much that He makes me a lesbian, but I just can't.
Well, no,
can't do it.
When he told me that, and
I'm
then
just
you and
a
I sat
total
down
lesbian.
next to each other at our first podcast when
Yeah.
your microphone wasn't working that night. You had said a story about like an ex-boyfriend, and I was
Same
like,
thing. That's how it got me.
I was like,
She said my
wait.
boyfriend's in the crowd.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what the
Well, no,
fuck?
you had told me that like a week before, and then you sat down and said that, and the whole podcast, I will never forget. I sat there and I was like, is she a
funny.
lesbian or is she not a lesbian?
It's
Because I'm
funny.
very confused.
It
I'm very
tickled me for the
confused now,
longest
but I
time.
couldn't say it. And then you finally I think a couple more times we had talked, you had like said something about an ex or like some guy or whatever, and I was like, she's not a lesbian.
no,
That girl
I'm
likes
just
boys.
as tomboy as they come.
It's cool. I love it. I love you guys. We'll probably end it with this.
I love you.
But,
This has been
You're
fun.
gonna end it
But-
on Court's not a lesbian.
Right.
That's
Of course
the
not.
title.
I mean, that's the fucking. You want
That's
them to know. No,
the title.
in all seriousness, mental health is taboo. It shouldn't be. There's not enough people that and I'm understanding more and more every day, with me trying to grow, that just know everybody's scared to talk about it. And if you're not scared to talk about it, I don't want anybody making me feel like I'm crazier than I actually feel like I am. So if you are somebody that's expressing that you are going through issues and you're going through problems, don't do it seeking attention. Do it like you're seeking to heal yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
D-
true.
don't do it like you're begging for attention.
So true.
If you're venting or you're putting something out there, do it because you know that you have to get it off your chest. It doesn't matter if it gets one like, one share, if it gets absolutely none, or if it gets 1 million. You should want the same result from it. It should be that you are putting your message out into the world, not worry about what you're getting back.
Yeah.
But don't do it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I think it's about, and I think the most important part about whenever you're having any mental health discussion is if you are choosing to put your story and your mental health issues out into the public, it should all, in my opinion, it should always be in the hope that you're letting somebody know that they're not alone in what they're feeling.
Yes, that you're helping someone.
Because there were so many times where I thought that I was alone in what I was going through. And I was also in a place where I felt like I could not express how I was feeling. And I think everyone should know if you're going through something, there is no shame in seeking or asking for help.
Yeah.
And there is no shame in just saying, like, I'm hurting. This is what I'm going through. Because there are so many people out there that are going through those same experiences.
And don't feel like you're wrong for doing it. Like if you're doing it for the right reasons, and don't be scared to say you're sorry or you were wrong. I'm figuring out it might fall on deaf ears, but the more that I have peace with the mistakes that I've made, now figuring out why I've made some of those mistakes, it's like don't seek validation. Don't seek forgiveness. That was something like I was reading or talking about earlier before y'all got here. Is if I'm expecting you to be my forgiveness of what I'm looking for, then I'm not actually wanting to be forgiven.
No, you want to know something really interesting that I heard from I don't remember if it was a pastor or a psychologist, which really is bad when you confuse the two. But I heard it one time, and it was, forgiveness isn't for you, isn't for them, it's for you.
Yeah.
And it's so you can, like, if you had like a box of stuff, it's so that and all of that stuff was whatever, like, the shit that you were going through, right? Like, if somebody wronged you, like, and it was just like your wronged box, you're not asking them for forgiveness so that, like,
Your box getting.
they feel, your box is going to be empty. Like,
Yeah.
you're asking for forgiveness because, like, sometimes you just have to,
You
in
need
your
it.
head at your own house, you got to be like, you know what, I
Yeah.
forgive them, and you can close that lid on that box, put a lock on it, and shelf it.
Yeah.
Well,
and be like,
it's
all right.
accountability.
Yeah.
Like, hello, what the hell ever happened to that?
Yeah, and it's like, you can,
Like-
Yeah, but even you
But
got people
I also-
nowadays that they think when you're being accountable, you're
Well,
seeking something.
there's
Like,
also the
Yeah.
side
and,
of,
and it's like with me, I'm having to be over accountable right now because I've done shit so wrong for so long that I'm having to put not pressure on myself, but I want to put a new standard on myself. I want to hold
Yeah.
myself to a higher standard now.
Yeah.
And you can't do that from everything that I'm trying to learn and shit now. I can't do that and still have skeletons in my closet that I still am scared to face. I have to hold myself accountable. If I don't hold myself accountable, who the fuck is going
but
to?
you also can't, about accountability, I can hold myself accountable, and I say like, I could forgive you, and I can hold myself accountable for my end of things and be like,
Yeah.
this is what I did. And like, I forgive you for like the way that you wronged me or you treated me or whatever, because I've got to shelf it for me because I can't keep carrying whatever
Yes.
this is. But you can't, and I've learned this because this will kill you. You cannot carry the I'm mad at you because you won't take responsibility or accountability
Yeah.
for your actions. You have to live with that because we're all people. Like, I know when I have not been responsible for something I've said, or I know when I'm not being accountable, and it eats you up. Like, you have to be able to be okay with them not being accountable or them not taking responsibility, because not everyone is going to do that, because not everybody's emotionally
Well, no,
responsible.
and not everybody's got the same.
and not,
like,
honestly, not everybody like even wants to do it because they just
And on
are
the
cool
other-
with being shitty.
And on
Yeah.
the other side of that,
Exactly.
They're just cool with it.
and on the other side of that though, you can't get mad at people when they're not forgiving you.
Yeah.
Like you can't. Like that's something that
You can't force them.
you
That's
can't
like
force forgiveness.
Yeah.
Like forgiveness happens when it's supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot get mad if somebody is cold to you because you caused the coldness.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you're a kid and your mom says apologize to your brother.
And it means nothing.
Yeah, and it means nothing because your mom's forcing you to apologize to your
Yeah,
brother.
you're
I'm
just
not
like,
actually
look-
sorry. I'm just
Yeah.
saying sorry so
Like,
mom will get
sorry,
off my
whatever.
butt. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just saying sorry so mom will let me play that video game again.
That's
Okay.
exactly right.
I'm not saying sorry because I mean it.
No.
You just got to work on yourself.
Yeah.
I know
Well, and
that's-
that goes back to that communication thing, like
Yeah.
we talked to about, like Court and I
Just
talked
listen to
literally
it.
as soon as I got off the plane yesterday. Her and I had a conversation, and she said something to me that really resonated. She was like, "Man, I was kind of nervous about seeing you because I didn't know how to feel. Like I feel this way and this way." But we communicated.
Yeah.
We sit there and looked each other in the eye and we talked and we both felt better.
Yeah.
And it's okay that you're not on the same space or you don't see things the same way. As long as you can communicate and look each
Yeah.
other in the eye and say, "Hey, this is how I'm feeling and this is how I see it." And then I turn around and say, "Okay, well, this is how I feel and this is how I see it. And this is why I did these things."
Right.
And so just having that means the world to me. Fuck the rest of it. I don't
Yeah.
even care what everybody else is seeing or what they see on Twitter or whatever. It's just,
Yeah.
You know what also too, thinking about it now, with you saying that, you ought to be somebody that you want to make your friends comfortable to talk to about these kind of
Exactly.
things. Because I know for me, there's been a lot of times like I needed a conversation and
Yeah.
I didn't know who to have a conversation with. Like I got certain buddies that'll be like, "Hey man, you're upset. Let's go to the bar." You try to take somebody home, get drunk or whatever. And then I've got friends that'll be like, Reagan's the best at it. Reagan will be like, "No, you need to talk to God today. You need to sit down and look at it. Like, don't do this." And I feel comfortable talking to her about shit. I feel comfortable
Yeah.
talking about anybody here. But like, if we don't open up to our friends when they're struggling and let them know that like it is okay.
Well,
It's okay to talk
yeah.
to me.
Big shout out to Reagan though, because I know everybody
Oh,
at
that's
this.
an
I
angel.
would,
That's
I
a-
would be
that's
losing
an
my fucking
angel.
mind if it wasn't for Reagan's friendship, like a long time ago. Like it doesn't. She doesn't even. Sometimes I swear, like you said, she's an angel. It's like she doesn't even know
she's straight
shit, but
from
she
heaven,
knows.
dude.
Yeah.
You know what I
I've
mean?
Yeah,
never-
she's
Like,
got like a sixth sense because
It's-
she'll out of the blue a text message from Reagan comes in and I'm like, man, I needed that right now.
I know it's so crazy to me, but that's how she is. She's amazing. So
But
yeah,
we all ought to be more like Reagan. That's true.
true.
But no, Ireland, thank you yesterday for hitting me up. It was probably something that I needed to. It was something that was on my mind anyway, and I was trying to figure out a way to do this for
You just gotta
this
talk about
month.
it.
And I was like, you know what? You hitting me up. That's the good Lord or whatever you want to say it is right here saying,
Yeah.
all right, it's time to do it. Like
It's just one of those things. Like I went to a funeral for a friend of mine who had committed suicide, and I remember I sat next to my best friend, and we were sitting right next to each other at a funeral for one of our other friends, and which is already just a weird place to be because you're all just kind of looking around like,
yeah.
what in the world, and how did nobody, and you all start to do the question game and like the what ifs and this and the girl who had committed suicide, her best friend was up speaking, and my best friend, she leaned over and she goes, hey, no matter where we're at in life, no matter what happens, no matter where we live, no matter what, she was like, if you ever get to that point, you call me. And gosh, I'm gonna, ugh, I hate this, but she said that to me, and I was like, man, like, I don't ever want to get to that point and like not talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And it's probably, I mean, I haven't talked to her in 2 years, 3 years. We just live two different lives. Like, she's married, she's got kids. She lives hours away. Like,
Yeah.
it's just one of those things. Like, nobody's mad at each other. We just don't talk.
I get it.
But it's one of those things. Like, if something happened, I would call her in a
Yeah.
heartbeat because it's like we sat through that experience. That was hard. And then, gosh, this is awful. I was not going to cry today. But she leaned over and she was like, hey, like, if either one of us ever get to this point, because the girl got up and she was like, she never said anything. She was the happiest person. She had all of these awards. She like had accomplished 1,000 different cool things where you like look at somebody like that and you're like, what do you have to be sad about? Like,
Yeah.
what's going on in your life? And her best friend got up there and she was like, her best friend of like 30 years got up there and was like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Her husband got up there and was like, we didn't know. None of us knew.
Yeah, Matt.
None of us knew.
The people who put on that fake smile, and I'm guilty of it as anybody. I put on that fake smile more times than I should have, and now it's to the point where I know putting on that fake smile does not have the effect on it that I need. It might make people happy around me, but I'm not, and that's where I've just done got like I've been more open in the past couple months or weeks, but like I used to would have just tucked this shit down.
Yeah.
I would have just tucked it. I mean, like, fuck it. I'm a dude. Like, I'll find ways to get over it. I'm not going to cry about it. I'm not going to make myself like a bitch about it. And now I realize that what we were taught growing up, that fake smile and that tucking it down, it does nothing but cause the biggest cancer in you that you could ever fucking have. And I hate that I grew up that way, but now I want people to overshare. I would rather you overshare
Yep.
and post shit to where at least or even talk about it. Don't have to be social media, but like I want you to
Where
be able.
somebody knows.
They said last night, me and Vaden and Hasten, everybody laughed their ass off at me last night, but it was the truth. And me saying it even made me feel better, and I don't know why. Hasten, first thing he said when we got live vote, he's like, look, you've been going through it. You all right? And I was like, fuck no. I was like,
Nope, I'm
I was
not,
like,
but I'm
but
here.
I'm getting better. I'm happy. Like, I'm fine. But even saying you're not okay
Yeah.
to where, like, somebody knows. Like, yeah, did I laugh about it and make it playful? Yeah, because you laugh, keep from crying, right?
Yeah.
Like do.
That's what Ireland and I bond over
Yeah.
is our humor on Instagram because we'll be going through like
We'll be
some
going
mad
through
shit
it.
and we'll just post like the darkest humor.
Because we both get it.
Yeah, I
we
get
both understand each other. And we'll laugh about it, and then I'm like, you good? All right. Cool. Sounds good. Call me.
There has been one thing that I've learned through my situation in the last month, I guess month and a half, of what I've been going through is I'd rather be that friend who recognizes shit right off the bat, like
that reaches out too
that
much.
I go
Yeah.
too far, and then I'm dead fucking wrong. I end up looking like the fool. I end up looking like
Yeah.
a complete jackass. Than for me to have been wrong, because I know that when I made a call to Josh 6 weeks ago, and I said fuck, and I texted him, I said fucking answer your phone right now. There's a problem. And I'm so glad that I did that, because had I not had his support, even though it was whatever, I would have lost my mind. And
Yeah,
if
but
it
it
wasn't for
wasn't
him
whatever, and
or
it wasn't-
Reagan,
Yeah.
It
but
wasn't.
that was
She
it.
didn't get the answer she wanted on the other end of the
isn't,
phone. But
yeah.
and that's what you got to do. Like her and Raleigh on the way back from fucking Macon, like when I was not dealing with shit well, almost a month ago. Shit, they didn't tell me anything I wanted to hear. They didn't tell me a damn thing I wanted to hear. But you realize it's the people that love you the most, the ones that actually got you fucking back. The ones that don't want you to sugarcoat shit or tuck it down.
Yep.
They're going to tell you the real life shit.
Yeah.
They're going to tell you what you have to come to terms with. And it ain't a fucking dress rehearsal. You don't get a second chance at it. You got to come to terms with it now, and you have to do it the right way. Masking it with alcohol, even masking it with God.
Yeah.
If you don't address the actual issue, you're just covering up. You're just covering it up.
Well, I know through my experience, everybody that knows me knows I will stop at fucking nothing. Like, if I would say I've got your back, I've got your back.
Yeah.
Even if I'm a complete asshole in the end and look like so stupid, everybody that knows me knows if I'm in your corner, that's where I'm
Yeah.
fucking at. You know, so
Well, I'm glad all y'all are in my corner. I love you guys. Every one of y'all at some point in time have said something. All my friends have. Everybody that's here has.
Wow, this room is
we
really
just-
filled up.
Yeah,
Hello?
we just. I want
Everybody's just hanging
I
out.
want everybody that's listening to this. Just don't be scared to make it known you're not okay. Don't be scared. Like, it sucks. I've told the story a million times, and I think it was 2016 when I decided to address, because I thought I got called crazy all over where I was from, try to commit suicide in 2010, right? I felt like I had to make it public to get that monkey off my back. And if people were going to put me down, if they were going to talk shit, they were going to do whatever, this was their chance. I got nothing but love. I got nothing but kindness. I got a bunch of messages from a bunch of people that I would have never thought would have messaged me. And they were like, man, same thing. Thank you. Just
Yeah.
Thank you for saying it. Like, taking the taboo out of it is like my passion. To where if you're not okay, fucking stop saying you're okay.
Yeah.
It's not going to fix it. Running off hiding ain't going to fucking fix it. Address that shit. Don't drink it down either. Address it. I hope more people do that. Especially, you got people like all of y'all telling one story or another today while we're sitting here. It's all of us has got something. You're not alone. Every one of everybody that's listening to the show
And
has something.
there's not really one thing, like, kind of like I said, like, you're going to tell something to somebody and you're going to think, like, if I told you something and I'm like, what if he thinks I'm crazy? You've probably heard something worse. You've probably been through something similar. Like, everybody's got their things. They just don't talk about them.
But when
like,
you say it, the thing is, like, when you say it to me,
yeah,
I know we're relatable then.
right.
And then I'm going to open
And
up.
now we can have those conversations,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, well, I'm not as, like, alone in this or whatever it is as I thought I was, because, like, you get it and you get it,
Yeah.
and, like, I didn't know that Court would get it until we had the same sense of weird, dark
There's-
humor, and I
there's
was like,
almost 10
hey, I was
there's-
like, we probably been through the same
There's close
stuff.
to 10 people in this house right now, and I will guarantee you all of us get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like, it's not a scary thing to just.
It's liberating.
Sometimes you just gotta let people know your shit, because
Yeah.
I read this thing today
Fuck
actually, and
yeah.
it was like, why would I be embarrassed of my life story? That's
Yeah.
literally my reality. Like,
Well,
it is what it is. I can't do anything about it.
Well, you shouldn't be embarrassed because you don't know the last chapter yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
It's
it's
like,
just an understanding of, like, if I tell you all, like, because you know most of, like, my background at this point, now you know why I do the things that I do
Yeah.
and why I operate the way that I do.
Makes you have a better
Yeah.
understanding
Yeah.
of somebody. I
oh,
get it.
100%.
Yeah.
When you understand, like, how somebody grew up or the way that their parents are, or
Yeah.
like how just anything about them, you're like, oh, I
Yeah.
get it now. Like, I get it. Like, when people, hear about like the life I grew up in and like in the entertainment world and like all the different things that have happened and that I've been through, people are like, oh,
Makes sense.
makes a lot of sense. And I'm like, yeah, but then you meet like, you ever like met a new friend and then you meet their parents and you're like,
I get it now.
oh,
Yeah.
got it.
100%.
It's like, yeah, if everybody just kind of understood each other a little better, we'd all be like, hey, we're all pretty much the same.
Yeah. You just got to be open and honest. You can't hide it, and you damn sure can't lie about it. You got to.
Yeah, 'cause the
if
people
you're
that-
fucked up, if you think that you're fucked up, let the world know you think you're fucked up.
Yeah,
So
like-
somebody's going to come along and tell you you're not, and let's fix these problems.
Yeah.
Best way to be. I think now, instead of me showing my ass all the time,
Yeah.
that didn't get nowhere.
It happens. You know what?
But anyway, well, I love you guys. Thank y'all so much for coming to
you.
hang out, and probably do it again next time we're in Nashville, right?
Probably.
All right, we'll see y'all later. Thank y'all for listening.
I gotta go make dinner, y'all.